I won't say anything.
And
How are you?
the parking, the stoplight god is on my
Oh,
side.
nice.
Yes.
It's gonna be. Maybe this meeting will go that fast.
Oh,
Like,
We can't get that one.
yeah. Let's hope. Let's hope.
How are you?
Okay,
The
so
lake can be scary.
Oh, it can
I
be.
like the
you're
lake,
there?
but
Okay. Kristen's
the
here.
lake is scary.
I got,
There we go.
I think I got friends that load their boat in the wind.
Oh.
Chipping away.
That's-
So we have more
Yeah.
space. Okay.
I'll back right
Well,
up.
I feel a lot better about
Trent is actually not on the lake yet.
There's a few
Yeah,
things I
it's
still
too windy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
No, a lot of times.
Yeah.
soak it in. Do you feel better or worse about it?
I
He's
feel a lot
waiting.
better. Well,
Some good winds going there.
Okay.
I understand a lot.
Okay.
I,
Yeah, we'll look at it, and
I'm
if
still like-
if there's people who are concerned,
there's some
especially
days
that
when I have
those
to
property
get
owners,
everything.
just let us know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Not on this.
Maybe
path.
leaving this.
Okay, Lloyd, you're on.
We ready to go?
Yes.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the June 13th Planning Commission meeting. In attendance, Ann Austin, Shay Walker, TC, Melissa Riggs, Cody Nilsson. Yes. We have Kristen and Mac.
Don't forget yourself.
And myself, Lloyd Wilson. Would everybody join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any conflict of interest to declare tonight?
Other than being property owners in the rezone area.
Well, you have to be a property owner to be on the board, so I don't know if that would be a conflict. Hearing none. Everybody take a few minutes if you've not had time to go over. Let's start with the May 9th approval of minutes. Work session.
I saw something on that one.
Also, can I just state that work sessions do not need to be as entirely thorough as planning commission notes, so that's why those are more summarized. I did go into quite a lot of extent for June 10th because of some of the bigger decisions that we're making on final ideas.
On the May 9th, or the approval of the April 11th meeting minutes, it says that Commissioner Rigg approved the meeting minutes with corrections, seconded by Commissioner Walker. And then later in the meeting at the adjournment, it says Commissioner Wilson to approve the meeting minutes with corrections.
Oh, sorry.
Is that
That was
something I'm not understanding, or?
No.
That was on the
That was
Planning Commission meeting,
Sorry, that was just a
not on the work session.
clerical error.
So does anybody have anything on the work session?
Oh, on the work
I
sessions.
see.
No, the first one.
No.
No.
Motion.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next one is the meeting from May 9th, the commission meeting. That's the one that you were talking about with changes.
Right.
Any others? We got a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
With corrections.
With corrections. Number 3, which is a work session meeting, May 28th. Melissa, you're on the grammar because Trent's not here. So. Any corrections?
No.
Motion?
So motion.
I'll second it.
Who made the motion? Sorry.
I did.
TC.
TC. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 4, which is the work session meeting from June 10th.
Hey, I just have one word thing on the second page, and it's the second paragraph down. Planning commissioners review. Blah blah blah. They discussed omitting. I thought we agreed to omit
Where are you?
on the second page of the minutes, and it's the second paragraph down. And it starts with the planning commissioners reviewed the use summary tables for listed uses. And the second sentence in that says they discussed omitting.
Just a note, I was careful not to use all in agreement and stuff because we didn't have any official votes, so it was just kind of head nods.
Yes, because
Okay.
it is a
And
work
so that's
meeting.
why I
Okay.
left that kind of language out of the
Okay.
whole
Yep.
thing.
Okay.
Just in case somebody didn't agree, but when I looked over, everybody was gone.
Okay. That makes sense.
Any corrections? Motion?
I'll make a motion
Motion to approve.
to approve. Yep.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next we have public comment. And this is time reserved for public comment on items or issues not listed on the agenda. Do we have anybody online?
Oh, yes, we do. We just got in. Is Jenny or Kylie?
You want comments on the ordinances later though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, because we're not reviewing the ordinance tonight, now would be the time for public comment.
Okay.
This is not the public hearing. The
I
public
know.
hearing is.
I know,
So yeah, now would be an appropriate time.
Okay.
Alrighty. Hey all, I'm Dave McCarty. I live on Sunny Acres Lane. Lloyd and I are on the water board together. And last night he was wondering if I said, I'll see you in a couple months. I'm going to be gone next month. And he said, what, you're not coming down tomorrow night? So here I am. So I'm going to start broad and then narrow down. So the biggest picture thing here is you may be wondering, you know, why aren't there more people here? And I think part of it is because every time we, the rabble, come down here and protest or object to something like Loves or Balanced Rock or something, it's as if our concerns fall on deaf ears. And I think people are just tired of like, oh, I guess they didn't listen to us on that. So that's one thing. But I'm still interested, and I came down. So another thing is, the county commissioners themselves have stated that they see that chunk of San Juan County as a cash register. When they approved Balanced Rock, they're like, oh no, we're approving it. So that's one thing. All right, so now to get a little smaller, the timing, I would suggest giving more time to workshop these ordinances and just zone changes. They've been out there for 2 years. I read them 2 years ago, and I thought, oh man, this is good stuff. I liked what I saw, a more clearly defined way to go through permitting changes, zone changes, stuff like that. But without the map showing where those particular zones are, we had nothing to go with. And now all of a sudden we're finding out that our residential neighborhoods are becoming multiple use. And again, I was like, well, I don't know, why should I even bother come down here? Because everything I've been hearing is like, oh, no, there's all kinds of stuff in there. But Sunny Acres Lane, in particular, is not a mashup. Everything that is commercial or semi-commercial is on the other side of the ditch. From the ditch east, it's all residential, except for Underdog, which is in Grand County. So, and they're trying to move. So that's all residential in there. So another thing that kind of concerns me is the Planning Commission is the sole authority on conditional use permits. And then the statement of adversely affected parties, the way the state defines it is pretty narrow. Like it says you have to either be a contiguous adjoining landowner or you have to have some detriment that's other than what the general population will suffer. So where's the place for the person who's the general population that's going to suffer from the use to make their comments or concerns about the conditional use? Maybe I'm reading the adversely affected party definitions wrong, but it doesn't feel good. It's a very narrow, limited thing, and the only way to appeal that is through a lengthy process. And then there's a couple of editing details on the thing, like the Chapter 7A, Section 8 says something about multiple use should be 5 acres, and that doesn't square with anything else in there. And then,
Dave, quickly.
Yeah, another reason to have more time is to give us all a chance to read through all those things and make sure the addendums and the tables of uses for different zones all have the same language and agreement. So if it's an automobile service station or a gas station, we want the wording uniform across all those things.
Right.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Just to remind everybody, we do 3 minutes on all public comment. Sorry.
My name is Daniel. I'm a resident of an area just off Sunny Acres, and I would like to speak to that. Terra Drive has been an area of commercial use for at least a decade that I know of in separate places that I've been around there. And I know at least 5 people who would like sign a legal affidavit that say they know that had been going on. So it wasn't always confined to across the ditch, although it might mostly be. But Terra Drive seemed to be a exception to that. So I just wanted to point that out, and I think all of you guys know that as well. Dave mentioned that that it's like a cash register, or let's just say a cash cow or golden goose. I mean, that just is that way. That isn't because these guys have engineered anything. It just exists, and I think we'd be foolish not to take advantage of that in this county where there's people who need running water and things like that. And, you know, we want to improve and advertise for us and do all those things. And I just want to say that overall, I see that San Juan just every day is losing money because everybody leaves to go get their gas and to buy food and to buy a soda and everything. They leave to go spend their money somewhere else. And so I appreciate these maps because I think it will, having some businesses out there will change that. Obviously, there's money to be made in the nightly rentals and off, the increase in property values and stuff like that too. But I'm excited to see like kind of a commercial heart develop there. And so that's my comments for right now.
Thank you.
Hi, Holly Slow, Northern San Juan County. Just a couple of comments. This is a lot of information to process in what feels like a really short period of time. So I would hope, obviously we'll see how things play out, but I would hope the commission would be open to the potential of extending the comment period and workshopping this a bit more with neighbors as it becomes clearer to them the impact it can have on them. And it could be a very positive impact, but just helping them understand how this is going to affect them going forward. So just, put that in the back of your mind, hopefully. The other thing is when I was reading the minutes from the 10th, you talked about overlays and you were talking about a heliport or an airport overlay. I liked that idea. I just want to mention that it's like when I think about the multiple use and I think about the new recreational support, which I just got rezoned to, but just found out this afternoon. That was one of the things that jumped out at me so the idea of an overlay for airport helicopter makes a lot of sense to me. It also continues to make sense to me. We have an overlay for resorts, hotels, the overnight accommodations. I know that you've moved more towards conditional use permits for those, but I still like the overlay idea. I also continue to feel that in Spanish Valley, because we are creating a city that should be very economically thriving, I too am looking forward to more services. But planning that in a way is distinctly different than almost anywhere else in the county right now. So I continue to believe that we need something in between multi-use and residential, that there's a role for the residential flex idea where its emphasis is on denser housing, but it's on residents with accompanying services. So those while I liked a lot of what I read in the 10th meetings, I thought, okay, they're listening, they're talking about the issues that have been raised. I still feel strongly that those things would add a lot of value to residents' comforts and to just how the city develops in the next 10 to 20 years. Because I really liked what you said, Kristen, where you said, we have to have a 10 to 20 year vision here, not just what's happening right now.
Thank you.
Last one, I promise, unless someone else walks in. My name's Connor Simmons. I'm married to Megan. We have 4 sons. We love the Spanish Valley area and Moab in general. My comments are geared toward the multi-use zone through the county, but especially in the Spanish Valley. I followed the process for over a year now. I've been to the last 3 planning meetings, including this one, and came to the community input meeting at the health clinic. I've also studied the general plan and all the zoning material back to 2011. Many people have stated that little thought has been put into this process, and I can testify that you all here have done a lot of work. This includes reviewing the old and getting education on the future, so thank you for that. My concerns are our population is declining. San Juan County is broke in multiple ways. 20.7% of the population live below the poverty line, a number that is almost double than the national average of 12.5. The largest demographic living in poverty are males 18 to 24, so I don't blame them at all for leaving. San Juan has the highest poverty rate in the state. The solution for this is more space for business, which has been addressed in this new zoning map. We have people coming here for vacation and along Highway 191, so let's have them spend their money here. We have a housing shortage. I had a friend that posted an apartment, small apartment, had 42 people message him in 24 hours, which is absurd. The next generation, which I don't relate with, they want smaller houses. We need townhomes they can buy and apartments they can rent. I would dare say we all started renting something at some point around here. I'd also bet that it was non-conforming if it was affordable. I have read every concern submitted on the report. They are from, and I hesitated to say this, but I think it's good, from NIMBYs, an acronym that stands for Not in My Backyard. Likely all living in homes worth $500,000 and probably double that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I live in a home over $500,000. The issue is that they are trying to push the problem somewhere else or further down the road. Comments I read were no truck stop north of Ken Lake's turnoff. I don't understand why that makes sense unless it's just going in their backyard. There's several others I was going to comment on, but for time I'll skip. I bet if these same people wanted to subdivide a lot or build, if these people's children wanted to subdivide a lot or build it, they would lovingly allow it. The next generation is all of our children. What we have been doing isn't working. The change is finally bringing in the dire needed changes. I bought part of Daniel's business a few years ago and together have been operating it. Last year, we had a gross revenue of $231,000 and also paid $24,891 in occupancy taxes, the transient room tax. The money was paid out in the following ways, roughly. We paid $50,000 to cleaners, $12,000 in other maintenance workers, and $45,000 to managers. That's $107,000 in earned income to cleaners, managers, and maintenance workers, all locals to Spanish Valley, and $24,000 in taxes. And the rest is enough money to support our families. The rezone not only helps us, but it will help others out of poverty and to build businesses to help grow our economy. In conclusion, the county's new map, as I've seen it, is not only a step in the right direction, but a very well-developed plan for many years to come. It provides opportunities for strong economy and affordable housing. It looks at the big picture and not just at the few people that are complaining, some of which felt a need to complain 54 times on the survey.
Your time's up.
Oh, so you're saying thank you, be done.
Thank you.
That's it. Okay. Thanks, guys.
And I've got one comment online. Monet, go ahead.
She's on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Monet.
Thank you so much. I just want to say that I live in the Spanish Valley at Coronado and Spanish Valley Drive, right on the corner, West Coronado. So I'm in the residential right now, but my area would be changed to multiple use. And I feel that we need a zone, we need a residential flex zone to be placed into the ordinance. So that you have more flexibility, not only for Spanish Valley, but for all of the county. I think that I would really like to ask the commission to consider zoning those homes that already have permanent residents in them back to at least to residential flat. And I also feel that to be, prepared for the future and to be able to, it just makes sense to have a few additional zones. Doesn't mean you have to use them right now, but I would also be in favor of keeping the overlay zone for overnight accommodations, and so I like the overlay for an airport and heliport as well. And the other thing is that as commission, that just because something is on a conditional use rather than just automatically permitted, the conditional use is in favor of the person who's applying for that conditional use. And it's hard it's better than nothing, but it's better to be sparing with the use of conditional uses. It would be better to either allow or disallow right in the use table. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mona. Any others online?
Online, Jenny or Kylie, we see you. Any other online comments?
Okay, hearing none, let's move on. Administrative items, announcement of public hearing.
Alright, so there was several requests for our announcement flyer. So there it is. These will be going up. Hopefully I have some volunteers to put them up tomorrow at your post office. Otherwise I will drive around the entire county on Monday. But I have a full stack from here. So there was a little bit of a delay to give us more time and probably another work session. Don't kill me. But we just needed a little bit more time with this, and so we pushed it back 2 weeks. So public hearing notice, it's hereby given that San Juan County will consider the legal adoption of the 2024 zoning ordinance and maps during the following public meetings. This San Juan County Planning Commission will be on Thursday, June 27th at 6 p.m. You can also join virtually. And it will be kicked to, upon recommendation, kicked to the San Juan County Board of Commissioners on Tuesday, July 2nd at 11 a.m., also available online. If you'd like to attend in person for these public hearings, both meetings will be held in the Commission Chambers at the San Juan County Administration Building located at 117 South Main Street in Monticello, Utah, where you can join electronically. We are, because things are moving so quickly, we are updating our website pretty much after every meeting. Give me like 24 hours. So if you look on our planning website there, the maps are constantly being updated within the last minutes and that. So we've closed the online public commenting platform. However, you may still submit comments to myself, and I will forward them on to our planning commissioners.
Quick question, real quick. Do you have a the flyer? Not the flyer, the
Postcard?
yeah.
This is the
Oh,
postcard.
the same thing goes out.
So
Yeah,
that's
this
going to
is
be
the
mailed.
exact same thing that's on the back of a mini edition.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
everything looks exactly the same. So if you're following and concerned, please make sure that you keep on our website there. We'll be updating it after every work session within 24, 36 hours. And trust me, I've been pulling a couple 36 hours lately.
No wonder the county's broke. Oh, just kidding.
I'm salary.
Just teasing.
I'm salary. No worries.
Just kidding.
Okay. Next.
Review of final zoning map.
So the Planning Commission has drafted the attached zoning maps. This will be our 4th round of these. So keep that in mind. We've hashed it and rehashed it and rehashed it. This is the zoning maps that will be included as addendum B. Sorry, that's a typo. No, just kidding. It is addendum A. I'm good. In the proposed 2024 zoning ordinance. These maps are part of the first step in the long-term intent to have interactive maps available for landowners to look up parcel and zoning information through a county online platform. And we're already under contract with a company to get a new platform online. So this long haul is a big part of that and getting a GIS database going. In the what we're doing right now, zoning wise, there were some some staff changes just to keep consistency. So you'll notice the recreational support. There were places, Wilson Arch, those other outlying communities to the south of Spanish Valley, where they're standalone communities. We felt that they were very similar in nature to the other recreational support zones that we had, and so we created those, keeping in mind that the if there's any covenants with a subdivision, that those would take precedent over our zoning. So for things like short-term rentals, we've said it's recreational support, which they're conditional in, but if there's covenants that protect that within the subdivision, it would be up to the subdivision and the HOA to decide if they want to dissolve those and allow for it or not. So it kind of puts the power, we zoned a lesser restriction, it put the power into property owners' hands.
Which I know, like Bridger Jack has pretty tight covenants. I don't think they allow it. Flatiron Mesa, I don't think they allow it.
Yeah,
I don't know about
most
Wilson
of those
Arch.
subdivisions do not allow it, but we wanted to give them the opportunity that if they decide to do a little something else. I mean, there's right there by Wilson Arch, there's private property right up to the road.
Mhm.
So if they want to do a little sandwich shack, we wanted to allow for that, at least on our end. Now the subdivision might not allow for that, but
Right.
We wanted to try to open that up. So that is really the only staff change we made. I won't say only, but that was the largest that I wanted to just run by you guys.
Can we pull up the maps on the screen?
I don't have a mouse.
I did that on purpose. Weird.
Mine
That
got
is
hidden again.
weird. You can also get to the maps online. They are huge files, so don't crash your computer. They had to be so that you can zoom in and out real carefully. Don't get him! Don't!
Thanks, Mac.
Uh-oh, we're dueling my.
I used to be the chair, vice chair. We can't see.
You can't see online?
Just go to, as long as you on that one, then we'll be able to see it.
Okay. Thanks for doing back behind the scenes.
So the best of your knowledge, the changes we talked about, work session all got done?
I thought there was some discussion about doing community commercial along Sunny Acres itself. Did we not decide to do that?
got it.
We discussed it, but then we
Yeah.
said to leave it as multi-use.
Okay.
Right here.
In general, we didn't vote on it, but in general, that was a drift I got.
What is the future of Old Airport Road? What's the vision for that?
It's going to be a main corridor.
It
it's
is,
in
yeah,
Sitla's
it's gonna be an
plans.
artery going through.
Mhm.
But if it's ag right now,
It's because it's LeGrand Johnson. We cannot change their zoning ordinance because of a state law.
but is LeGrand going to somehow dissolve, or is their land potentially,
If
is that going to get
Could someday, but I don't see it in my lifetime.
if that gravel
Right.
pit runs out, and they would dissolve the parcel and brownfield it and come in for a rezone.
So originally we were going to have Old Airport be a major, or with Sitla's plan. So
Mhm.
the public will come through that little sliver of highway commercial through industrial, basically,
Yes.
and
Yep.
then into community commercial. My thought is that's not going to be a really attractive spot until you get past LeGrand.
So Sitla does have a plan right here to bring a road in that would actually tie, so that would tie all this in here and then come up, and they originally talked about a roundabout was their original talking. I said you can't do that with the pits. So they were bringing the main traffic down to a stop sign where you had to make a right onto Spanish Valley, a left into the pit, or straight through out to the highway to redirect traffic coming off of the loop road. straight out to the highway versus down Spanish Valley. And I haven't heard anything on that in 5 years now, so I don't know if that's still in the makings. So.
Well, so it's a super future road potentially, but right now, what we're looking at in the near future is going to be pushing traffic to Sunny Acres. Right, all the development in the near future would be happening along Sunny Acres, and that's if we're really hoping to build up Old Airport, get traffic going down there, and then this future road, I do wonder if we are not making a mistake promoting that area as multiple use, that specific road.
Which one?
Sunny Acres.
It is.
But I'm saying, if we're not promoting it, are we not making a mistake by promoting it as multiple use rather than trying to keep it residential so that we have this growth where we want it down?
You're not going to change that traffic by the zoning on that street. I
can hear that argument.
Because everybody that goes to Mount Hill goes through there. Everybody that's going back over to even sometimes, Blue Vista and areas over here. It's just the first road that's closest to get to into Grand County on those back roads. You are not going to slow that traffic. The majority of the people are going to go out to Old Airport Road, and they still do. I know most of the people over on East Coronado, West Coronado, Rio Grande, they come out to Old Airport and out to the highway. It's the quickest way. But you're still going to have, most of your people that are driving through Sunny Acres, either on Sunny Acres or up in Mount Hill or in Grand County, for the most part.
Well, I just want to acknowledge that conundrum there, as far as what it looks like on the ground now, infrastructure-wise and use-wise, and what a dilemma that is. Can I go on to my next point? Or just anybody has any? So, West Coronado, if we can zoom in, I'm curious about the parcels on West Coronado, south of West Coronado. They don't seem to be demarcated at all. So I'm wondering, is somebody getting a split zone there, or what's going on?
All of that is a bunch of houses.
So what are you looking at? This piece
Coronado,
right
yeah.
here.
Yeah, that block. See how that's
So some of the parcel fabric was not. This is what's recorded with the state of Utah.
Okay.
So that the loop of homes right there, we don't have in the parcel fabric yet. I believe it's with our recorder's office.
Okay.
This, I will tell you, so if you look right here,
there's a bunch
this
missing.
has been cut off right there. So that's where that should actually change, this piece, if that's what you're talking about.
And we made that spot red, just to clarify, because that's where the ditch is and you can't get across that ditch.
Okay. So you've got a physical
But the ditch is going away.
boundary there.
Maybe.
No, it is.
When?
As of 2:00 today.
Oh no. Things are happening
Send us
fast.
some pictures.
Is it flooded?
No, we another topic.
Okay.
Service district.
Okay.
So in that case, if there are those adjustments, our intent is the first parcel
Right.
off of Spanish Valley Drive, and we would just make that staff adjustment.
Okay. I just didn't know if there was a reason why,
So that'll become a really narrow sliver because those two houses, like where
So this is
Dalton lives.
Yeah, so this is Kyle Kimberly's shop right here.
Mhm.
This is Dalton's. This is Beecham's. But these property lines run this way also.
So Beecham and Dalton will be.
They should be in the
use.
multi-use, and then
Yeah.
there is a corner lot here, and then there's two more here.
Yeah.
So that line should actually be straight down right here.
Gotcha.
so that's just something else that, details, but I was wondering if that needed addressing or not. Because there are quite a few parcels right in there. Balanced Rock Resort is there in residential, is that correct?
Where's that at?
It's right
I'll let Kristen catch it.
in this area.
No,
it's
no,
not.
because they're not in
No.
Sitla.
It's over
right
here.
there somewhere.
So they're in residential.
Oh,
But
that's right.
They're gonna be under planned unit development.
Okay,
Balance Rock
in
is.
residential. Okay, so that allows for them to do what they propose to do. Okay. Sky Ranch is, that was my other question. Can that be residential? An airstrip legally?
Non-conforming, as long as they don't ever change the airstrip, it's non-conforming use.
In residential.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Because when that was approved, we approved the subdivision around an existing airstrip, private airstrip.
Okay. I just wanted a clarification on that. And then can we,
Now, at some point, if they don't use it, we could get it back to residential without an airstrip.
Change of use.
yeah, they have to change their use, right? In order to.
But as it stands, it stands.
Yeah.
My last concern about this map is the parcels in Mill Creek behind Flat Pass where people access Steel Bender Trail.
Mm-hmm.
I really strongly feel that that should be residential because of the watershed aspect to it. It does.
You point that out.
So you have to
So let me go back up.
mouse
Are you-
over.
It's this little guy right here.
Well,
Okay.
there's
The little
two
blue
parcels
one.
back there.
Are
Just
these the
behind
ones we
Tinsley.
talked about
Yeah.
last week
Yes.
or on
Right there.
Monday?
Right there.
Okay.
I've thought about this a lot. You know, rural recreation, this is a different, these parcels are different than the other recreation zone ones because it's in a watershed. I think it is important that we don't make it more permissive. If the property owner wants to ask for a rezone and do something, then I think that's a better plan than to just make it rural, whatever, recreational support. Especially too, we don't have the ordinance for what recreational support is, but if we go by what the one you want to get rid of, the rural recreational zone,
That they're very different. That's not it.
don't even reference
Don't
it.
even reference it.
Okay, well, until we have the language for that, I think it's like I based on what it looks like to me right now with the information I have, I don't think that making it more permissive is a good idea.
So that, without giving you the whole chapter, at our very, very first meeting that we discussed this, we had the summaries, and that's the piece I can give you. I could look it up if you want real quick.
What do you mean, the use table?
Well, just a
What's
summary
allowed?
paragraph of what recreational support means and what we're trying to do
Let's see.
without diving into, I can't.
Well, the
Dive into
definition,
the whole
sure,
chapter.
but there's a whole lot more to it, right? With density, lot size,
And we're gonna get into that
all of
today.
that. So, but as it stands today, based on the information I have, I think residential is the best choice for that. So I'm advocating for that. And like I said, the property owners can still, in residential, they can still do short-term rentals. They can also ask for a rezone. And
In order to do a short-term rental back here, you'd have to have 10 homes
then maybe
to do one.
To get you 10%.
Mm-hmm.
then maybe ag. How would that apply for ag if they still wanted to do short term?
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I can see with ag is
You'd have
that
to
little
be-
teeny lot. If that's not 5 acres, they're kind of just, they're non-conforming.
Well, then they could do primitive camping.
They could do primitive camping as long as they got sanitation.
Yeah,
But they
and
can
like I
also
said,
do primitive camping and recreational support.
I think this. Yeah, but they can also.
I've-
So that road to Flat Pass. I don't know if you've been back there, but that road is fragile. It changes all the time, year to year, season to season. It already gets a lot of use. I don't think it's a good idea to increase the usage back there with the way the infrastructure is, at least at this point.
Like real quick, I don't know why ag has got all the hate. We did a lot of work with ag, and I really like the 5 acre minimum lot, even though there are those few people that don't conform to that now, but it's that future development in those rural areas that just, if you have to have 5 acres, it just makes it to where it's not as dense. And I don't think we want those areas dense and populated.
Just
I still like the ag.
I would support ag.
I just want to throw this out. I feel like rural recreational support is narrower and more protected than ag. So if you're looking for protection or preservation,
Not in this case, because if you look at the feasibility of the uses for these particular parcels, there's a lot on that use table that's allowed in rural recreational support that is not feasible. But the things that are feasible on there, airport, helipad, deli, I mean, there is some mesa top land, at least on one of those parcels where it gets up pretty high. I don't know why you'd put a helipad there, but people do like to drop people in weird places. But it allows for a deli counter, a bike shop, camp park resorts, hotels, motels, food truck, a sit-down restaurant, general retail. Those are the things that I don't think are appropriate off of the use table for recreational support. And that's why I'm advocating that should be ag or residential for now. And that can come back as a rezone if it really needs to be developed. But because it's because it's a watershed is my main concern there.
if we do make that ag, does that disjoint our stepping down scenario from the rest of the area surrounding it?
Stepping down, can you explain that?
In protection and, because if we basically spot, it is an island, so if we create this ag, but everything else around it is recreational support.
Well,
does
if
that
it's in a
make it
watershed, I
switch?
say make it all ag. If it's not in a watershed, then do recreational support.
You know, there's some pretty intensive things that are permitted in ag, land intensive.
But are they feasible in this narrow section of the canyon? And would the BLM even, because if this is, like what on the list that's intensive in ag that you think is feasible in these particular parcels?
Nurseries, farm stands, commercial stables,
Down there?
arenas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are,
Arena?
yeah, I mean, they're all
None of
pretty
that's-
big
none of that's
footprint
happening.
things,
Yeah,
right? Right. Well,
permitted. Yeah.
and that's the point though, is I don't think a lot of that's happening that's in commercial support, or excuse me, recreational support either.
There's a major
No, it's
floodplain
very
there that nobody's going to
isolated.
develop anything like
Yeah.
that in. So I feel like the feasibility of those things in ag are low. So
And I think the land is very restrictive on what they can do there. And
right, but that's still not, to me, a good enough reason to permit recreational support. I think
Can I
it
get a
needs to be less
general-
permissive. And
for
not
me,
more.
Not an official vote, but just like how are we
I
feeling?
like
or
it the way
more
it is right
debate?
now on this map.
Huh?
I think it's more restrictive the way it is right now. And
Correct.
I don't want to change it.
You
I
don't
would
think a
agree
bike
that it is
shop down
more
there or a
restrictive
deli is
now.
going
You're
to
not going to
bring
get a
more?
bike shop or a deli in there.
How is it more? I mean, just tell me how do you feel like it's more restrictive? In which
For
With
me,
recreational
for
support.
you in
But
recreational
we
support.
want it, Cody.
So-
we want it more restricted because of the watershed.
No, but
Where we're
but
gonna.
that's what
I
I'm
think
talking.
we're-
I think the ag limits the size of development more than the I'm just that's just my just. I mean,
But-
just kind of argue.
but if
it
you were
for
to
me.
actually drive in here, the
Yeah.
actual buildable land within this one's got a lot more buildable land in it. But this one here, buildable land, you've already used it up there, and maybe you could fit another house
Pointer.
there. I'm sorry.
I gave you a mouse.
So buildable land, you could. There's one. I think there's a house right here in the rock. I think there's room for maybe one more here. There's not much buildable land here. There's a blasted out was Shumway's house. They were making a house right here in the rock, but for the most part, there's really not that buildable land there. So I don't, the point of turning it to ag means to me nothing, because the buildable land within this area right here is nothing. This one has already been approved as that. What was it?
Camp.
Thing I hate.
The church camp.
Yeah. So this was that
brief.
J.D. Wells piece.
I got
in
bullied
here.
into that. I don't like that.
I got bullied.
But so why? So that's still, why is recreational support more restrictive?
I think ag all of a sudden you've got, especially in this area, you could fit a nice equestrian.
I guess
center
I'm
on there.
I'm
the
thinking
high
a deli
density
counter, a
animals.
bike shop, something based out of like a tough shed, right?
Right.
I'm not seeing like a big building. I'm seeing a pretty dang small to
Right,
support.
but you're gonna
handful
need
of people
parking
are
for
there.
that. People are gonna come with their vehicles or their UTVs because they're coming off a steel bender or something. Where are you gonna park these people? And it'll be an attraction, so even people who aren't doing steel bender might show up down there. I think it would be really hard on the road. Who owns that? That's a county road, right?
To the wash.
probably.
they
The county
maintain.
maintains it to the creek,
Yeah.
right there
And
where
it gets-
the diversion point is.
It
But
gets
is
hammered.
this-
Then it's BLM from there.
Regardless
Well,
of what
BLM
happens
doesn't do any road
there,
maintenance, so
No.
would that stop the traffic? Are you saying now we are capturing the traffic that's already there?
I think you're inviting more traffic by potentially opening it up to deli counters or bike shop or whatever. And currently, it's used residential, correct?
The upper one is, yeah. I don't see the effect there. I really don't. Even looking at the 50-year plan on it, you're not going to see it there.
Well, then, what in ag are we worried about? If it were to go ag, what's wrong with ag?
Well, how big is this
It's
piece?
just that it disjoints
The little
the
one's
rest of
one
what we're
piece.
That's
trying to do
1.1
with the rest
acres.
Yeah,
of the
so we're
parcels.
Well, but
taking.
there's a multi-use off to the, that's also an island for
We're
the
also
west.
taking-
So
Well, but
you-
that's Sitless. So
Yeah,
if you look at
private
the
rights.
grander
Yeah.
county, but let me just zoom in here real quick. Any outlying parcels, what we're trying to do,
So
even
we
though
can do whatever they
most
want.
of these
Well,
are
right, but
protected
some of them are green and some of them are
under
Onyx
subdivision
doesn't have
covenants.
that other one on it.
Any outline piece, we tried to promote the recreational support that if people did want to dissolve those covenants one day, like Wilson Arch, the cabins up there, I'm pretty sure they have covenants protecting them, but like they look like vacation rentals.
Not a watershed, though.
That thing flows a lot of water sometimes. It's cut a pretty cool slot canyon down
We
there.
are proposing some sweeping changes to the county with this multiple use zoning. Our county's turning purple, which our county's not known for, but I think it's reasonable to pull back on some of this. A little too much change too fast can be not so good.
Me and you had this argument in 2019.
I don't remember.
You called me and said, just get this through, and we'll make the changes.
Well, so that stands to reason now too. If we don't get this right now, it's going to be harder to fix later.
We have 10 times or 100 times more than we had in the 2019 ordinance in this.
So just to fill it out, Anne wants to change it to ag. Anybody else?
I would go with her.
I'd change it to ag.
So real quick, this lot right here,
Mhm.
1.01. They can't do anything with it no more.
Right.
You change it to ag, you've taken their rights away from owning that piece of property. That property cannot be built on or anything done
No,
with it.
that's not what we discussed.
It was a
So
minimum of
it's-
5 acres.
It's an existing parcel in ag. They can't split the parcel to be less than 5, but if you already own 1 acre in ag, you can build on it.
Right, but they couldn't
But
split
they
it
couldn't. They
into
couldn't
quarter
take. They
acre
couldn't take
lots.
20 acres and make them 21-acre lots.
Is
They
that
would have to be 4.
is that in
5-acre
the
lots.
writing that we are not considering a non-conforming, so they can't use it for anything? Is that in our
That's how
ordinance?
I mean,
that's
Yeah,
how I read
there's
it.
language in there.
So if we did change it to ag,
that
Lloyd
out.
is correct in that that property is set as is. Whereas if we keep it recreational support, they could go in and split that. Let's say family-wise, they want to make 4 small homes up there, and they could split it into 4 quarter-acre lots.
If they
As
have
long as
sewer.
they have water and whatever.
Mhm.
What is it zoned right now?
Ag.
No, so
So I don't understand how they're losing a property right.
Well,
it's-
this is a proposed.
This is proposed.
No, I understand that, but Lloyd, you made the
So
comment they
it's
would
a
lose
it's a minimum.
property right.
It's a minimum of 5 acres in an ag zone,
In ag.
and they've got 1.01 acres there, and I don't know what this one right here is.
okay, but real quick,
That's
I
probably
need to
close.
make sure and clarify that for me.
Right.
That's how it's written. If it's not written that way, then I don't support the way the ag is described then. Because that was my understanding. We went through ag and we did the
It's just
the animal, but that if you had that 1.1, you can build one house
Yes.
on 1.1.
But you cannot divide that at all.
I'm
so
fine
if your
with that.
family wanted to divide it, you're done.
That's fine.
The
If it's
as far
in-
as the parcel boundary goes.
If it's in ag, that's the point. That was the protection ag was we were trying to gain in ag is to take these huge farms, this area that could be developed, or we'll use Elk Meadows for the example, that ag land is fine for 5-acre ranchettes or whatever we want to call them, but not that density 1 acre in ag. If they come in and rezone or whatever, and we find that okay.
See, and I get exactly what you're saying, but this is a different character to me because this is a canyon. If this was a big open homestead where you could put a barn up and you could, have your cattle and your farm and stuff, that's one thing. This is where's the mouse?
No, and I agree.
It's a deep canyon right through
I
here.
agree
There's a
with you,
little
Lloyd.
ledge here
It's
to
a little
build
bit
a house
like
on.
my work session comment. It's wild and untamed because it's remote
Right.
and it's hard to get to. And I guess I would just kind of support it a little bit because I see the protection size wise and.
I mean, the traffic, I feel like
But
the traffic's there, and so giving them an ice cream cone on the way out, it's not.
Where are they gonna park? Again, there's no space down there.
Well, if it's
That
something
would be
being
on
done
the
on that property,
development and-
they park on the property.
Yeah.
The owner of the property creates parking. They're not gonna, because the only reason this road comes from the diversion point down is for that piece of property.
They have to cross a creek.
Yes.
Drive
Mhm.
through the creek to get
Absolutely.
to that property.
Absolutely.
That is not. I don't think we want to draw a bunch of vehicles back
What do you
there
think
to go
they
get their
do?
ice cream.
What do you think they
across the
do
creek.
on Stillbender daily? There's 50 to 60 vehicles a day driving.
Right, but they're usually
through it.
doing a loop. They go, they cross through. I mean, and that's a done deal, and it's already existing.
Right.
But now if you can go.
And this
up
piece
the-
of
up the creek,
this piece of
down
property,
the creek.
privately owned, is already existing. And to start restricting these folks because they have a piece of property in the middle of nowhere, and
No,
we
we're-
don't like the
we're
idea
just
of
keeping
there
them
being
whole,
more
the
there.
same. We're just keeping them the same.
But if you go through ag, you have substantially more permissible things than you do in the recreational support.
Right, so leave it the same. If they want to rezone, then let them come to the county and request a rezone.
But we are changing the ag ordinance.
Okay, so maybe this is Shay.
Okay.
We just got to move on because we got a lot to talk about. So let's maybe think about this one. Shay, will you give me your gut feelings? Would you be for ag or would you be for stain?
I'd be more for this rec support.
Okay, Trent or Lloyd, I fill you out. Thomas.
Rec sport.
Okay, just let's roll it around because it's a 50-50 split. Let's think about it, but we got to move on. Any other comments?
No, I think that's fair.
And it's built right into the rock wall. It's a canyon. There's no.
Where's the part that's flat?
You got any more, Ann, in Spanish Valley?
Also,
or?
and maybe if you have a contact,
That was down here.
see if you can reach out to the property owner, make sure that they know that this is coming, and
Well,
see what they have to say.
I mean, that, I don't know why we need any special treatment there. That seems unfair to other
We
property
don't, but I'm
owners.
just saying, like, make sure that they know. We're trying to let everybody know that there could be changes to their property and see
Well,
what they have to say.
I feel like I've said
Because
my
we want to give
piece.
everybody a voice.
It's south of that, right?
Yeah, because that gate's way down here.
Okay, anything else, Ann?
Not on the map.
Okay, any other map comments?
Oh, right there.
That's where it's blasted in.
Can we, like, just for me, zoom in on blending? I just wanted to see what your ag change. I tried to zoom in, computer didn't like it, so I thought maybe we could do it here real quick.
So we basically, there was those two weird parcels. Everything that was community commercials, now multi-use, which seemed more appropriate to keep downtown Blanding and downtown Blanding. And then all these outliers turned ag, including outliers in the canyon systems. This is where it kind of gets a little checkerboardy. Any Sitla parcel that's pretty inaccessible, we left as multi-use. And basically any private that was up on top here, we made ag, but any private that was low, we kept as multi-use because a lot of oil is down in this area.
Can you zoom this right here a little bit for me?
That's all I got.
Okay. I'm just trying to decide because some of which one I want to be in, to be honest. Because I own this, so
Just you?
just me.
Which one are you?
Well, I own both of these, so I own all this purple, this
So you
multi-use,
wouldn't be an
and then-
island.
and then I own ag there. So I'm trying to, like, I don't know about anybody else on this board, but I'm kind of like, do I want to? And then I own this ag down low that we talked about changing, because it's pretty remote. The only way you come in from it is down here and through, but this you really don't. Then those are different.
Do you want to pray about it and get back?
No, I think I'm fine with it. I think I'm fine with it. We talked about, so Westwater is what the green is?
It's ag.
Is ag?
Just to chunk it in with the other private parcels out there. Same with Avakin Hills. These are all over 5 acres.
Yeah, I like that there. How about north? Can we go like, yeah.
That's recreational support, if you can't see it.
What is that up there?
That's the Blue Mountain
Guest ranch?
Guest Ranch.
Oh.
So like Camp Jackson is ag?
Where?
Oh, right here. How big are those lots now? Do we know? You
I
can't
don't
get
know.
any bigger than that.
And that's all I got.
Especially where that I kind of see the argument there where it's ag and it's watershed. I mean, and I know, like Trent and I were talking about, I think some of that is being talked about being sold, you know.
We did have a staff discussion of if we should make these little outliers recreational support. I think the only one that's developed is here. Of anything.
Smallest one in Camp Jackson's 4.3.
So maybe we want to change that to recreational support since it's a lodge and give them a little bit more reins on lot size.
No, I don't want smaller lots on the watershed. There, like I'm flabbergasted. I mean, I understand that's done everywhere, you know, that they build on watershed because it's private, but I don't like that they come in there and do 1 acre lots. Wouldn't.
So you want to keep it ag?
I mean,
just leave it alone.
But I guess if I owned it, maybe I want to do that. Let's be honest about it. So, but it is kind of nice to where they have some size to them. I'd leave it.
Okay.
But they will get a flyer and they can make a comment, and I'd be willing to hear their public comment and if they wanted to do something different.
Okay, any other comments?
I don't have any on the map.
We'll look at LaSalle real quick.
Yeah.
Looks like you got some
Looks
pivots
like it.
green and some purple.
Yep. Okay. How about scroll back up the top and do Old LaSalle? Or did you have something to say right there?
Good. Well, so Old LaSalle just went all ag except for those that are surrounded by forest.
What about those comments from AES? Were those taken into account?
Yeah, that's when we made the parcel all the same.
Yeah. So instead of doing the dual zoning, we just chunked it out.
What is that giant purple multi-use zone up top, right?
Up here.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically Rads, isn't it?
With Sitla and... Oh, is that
That's like all the Holly Oaks.
Right.
Yeah,
Some
that's just
private cabins and
bunch of
big
private
ranch.
cabins,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's by Blue Lake.
Do we need to worry about anything on the river corridor in the more remote parts of the county? They're hard to get to, aren't they? On the western side border.
this side.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
I
your
looked at the
river is
going to
be protected by health
Thought it looked
code.
fine. Where's it at?
And about 5 other agencies.
Yeah. Orange.
Yep.
How do you get to this? Is that hurrah?
Reclamation.
Yeah.
What's that?
Or is it
Hurrah's. Think of. It's Hurrah's right there somewhere, but that's Cane Creek on this side, and then down.
Hoorah's gonna be right here.
It's right on the border, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you pop.
But it's on this side of the river. But it's somewhere in there.
Kristen,
Yes, sir.
Because Cane Creek.
I'm still on the conditional
That's
on
it's pretty remote?
the recreational support on the hotels, motels.
But they can put a help.
It is conditional.
No, I thought we were just doing permissible on highway.
The only thing
commercial.
that makes sense out there.
It's conditional recreational support.
I thought that's what we discussed.
We want it to be. Are you saying it's still listed as permitted?
It's showing as
It's permitted.
permissible, and we were wanting that.
We did want it conditional.
Yes.
Hotels, motels, we want conditional, permitted.
Oh, okay. See, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, because the hotels and motels,
You
we
know?
were only making permissible on highway commercial.
Everywhere else conditional.
Conditional, right?
Okay, so let's, just so that we don't lose meeting minutes, can we focus on maps? We gotta wrangle you guys. Anything else on the maps? Anything else? Otherwise, we're moving on. It's getting late.
This ain't late.
This is early for me.
I like them.
Okay. All right, moving on.
Wait, nope. Sorry. Nobody has anything to say about the table?
Oh, we're just moving on from
We're
the map.
getting
The
away
maps.
from the maps.
Yeah, we're just going from
Okay.
maps to tables now.
Okay,
I think is what you want. What you want to do?
that is
correct?
what exactly
That's the
what I want to
plan?
do.
All right. We want to do what you want to do.
Okay, final use table. Planning Commission has drafted the attached table. Thank you. There was one error. These should be updated as per our comments last round. Once we get the ordinance complete and the page numbers set, I will put in reference page numbers.
So should we just start right off the bat with Lloyd's that we were talking about in the
Yeah.
last?
Before we forget about it.
Yeah.
Let's just
Oh,
start
what he
with-
just said?
Yeah.
So we discussed that hotels and motels should be conditional in recreational support, and that was just a staff error. So that I will change that.
In relation to that one, restaurants in recreational support, should that then be consistent with sit-down restaurants be conditional? If hotels and motels are gonna be conditional, they often have restaurants associated, so it seems like that ought to be.
So we have sit-down restaurants are permitted, but food trucks and drive-through fast food is conditional. I'm thinking a lot of like under canvases little restaurant. We would not need to conditional use that.
Because it would be included in the.
It's just part of the development.
I'm fine with that logic. I just was wondering.
But we don't necessarily
to be
want the.
consistent, if there's a reason to be consistent there. But I guess it begs the question: why is it conditional to be a fast food or a food truck?
Instead of permitted.
Yeah.
I see this as a low and slow cafe in recreational support versus McDonald's.
Well, fast food could also be a Taco Time truck that you drive through.
Yeah, and that's like this second line. Both those are conditional use. So you've got your food truck and your fast food, two different lines.
I think those are conditional. If I'm remembering some of our logic of why we switched it is because of just the surrounding enjoyment to the environment. A sit-down restaurant is very different than a drive-through.
A sit down that would have bigger impacts on the land than a food truck or a drive through. So is Taco Time a drive through or a truck?
Food truck. Sounds like a
It
Grand,
is a
Grand
food
County
truck
problem.
and drive-through.
I'd say
So
it was
do we
both.
need another category for that?
No, because they're straight across the board the same on
Yeah.
They're all
permissible.
conditional, right? So
But
So
I'm
by
still-
making it conditional, a fast food place, we have the opportunity to decide whether it's a McDonald's or a patio drive-in type of a thing.
well, we can't really decide, but we can
Well,
require
yeah,
certain.
yeah,
Certain aspects of it.
Yeah.
We can't hate on McDonald's, but we
Yeah.
can love on Taco Bell.
right.
even though I do, you know.
So I know you guys don't want to hear my opinion. so I'm
Nope,
give
not
it.
at all, Lloyd.
But
Just
you're gonna
kidding.
get
Go for it. Is this one of your? How many you get tonight?
Well,
He's
actually,
chair,
chair,
so
so
we
he's
could
got
be
a
here
bunch
for a
of-
Sit him
while.
down. All right.
Unfortunately.
accessory buildings, accessory dwelling units, and dwelling single family, dwelling two family duplex, and dwelling second floor residential units should all remain permissible, and everything else should be conditional and recreational support.
Wait, say that again.
So
All dwellings should be permissible in recreational support?
accessory dwelling units, your
You said accessory buildings.
Accessory buildings.
yes.
But they are
Would you,
already.
hey, for clarification, would
Yeah.
it be helpful
Well, I
to
see
put accessory
everything
unit
other
in with the
than
rest
that
of the
should be
dwelling categories?
It
Why can't he
it
just list what he
would,
needs
but
to be?
I see why you have it there.
Well, but I think sometimes people get accessory building and accessory dwelling unit confused.
Okay.
So
Well,
why don't we
I'm
move?
I'm just thinking if it's residential or housing use, we're gonna make it a permissible, and all other is a conditional in the recreational support. Especially government facilities, you don't want that in there.
So you're saying, let's go one by one here. You're saying for an accessory dwelling unit, it's permitted in residential, ag, community commercial?
Oh no, I'm just
Just the
talking
recreational support.
Just down the list on recreational support.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's accessory dwelling unit is permitted,
Mm-hmm.
single family permitted,
So
two
you've got-
family, multifamily apartments permitted?
No, it's
We don't
not,
even
it's
have
not
that
at
on
all.
there.
Yep, you got it.
So do you want it to be permitted in recreational support?
No.
Multifamily apartments?
I
No.
don't think so.
Yeah, not apartments and stuff
No.
like that.
Okay,
Too much density.
dwelling
Not in the
second
middle of
floor
nowhere.
units
Yeah, dwelling
can-
second floor
yeah,
residence.
sure.
and
Residence.
dwelling temporary use of an RV trailer.
No.
No.
Okay, so we're leaving it exactly as is.
As is on those, and then everything else conditional. That's my thought process.
Oh, you mean not just dwelling units, but everything else?
Yeah.
The
So
right-hand column.
the what we just
So like,
You're saying
Shelter
everything
counters,
going
conditional,
into
bike shops,
recreational
conditional.
support.
yep.
I'm with you.
Is
I
conditional.
really do because we're putting this in areas that we're trying to protect a little bit. So if we're still allowing a lot of residential, where people are building, especially that piece that we just talked about over and over, about trying to move it in ag. If we can get a couple more houses in next to that one, it's not going to affect it. Where I think a lot of these things, especially just the idea of restaurants and things like that, just we're going to make sure that they have parking. We're going to make sure that they have the things that they need and they're not affecting.
I'm
know
gonna.
you're not a fan of it. 'Cause we
Well,
talked
I'm gonna
about this
tell you
last time.
why.
don't
'Cause I
really know-
also
I
speak
don't
my
really know what
mind.
we're changing. Maybe I'm slow.
So
but
he wants to change this whole column to conditional, Except for
the four,
residential.
the ones we just talked about,
like all the ones that
like everything, conditional.
which
And
isn't a whole lot.
The one thing I want to consider with doing that is
Why?
that there's a lot of investors, developers, potential property owners that will not touch it if it is not permitted.
Why not?
Because it's too big of a risk with investment to go through conditional
What we're
use.
gonna do.
talk to you.
And so I think it where we are trying to promote ice cream shops, coffee shops, bike shops, if we make it conditional across the board on all those uses that we want to see, I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot for people wanting to work with us. And one of the things our county does have going for it is that we are willing to work with people and figure it out.
And I look at it this way too.
I like it.
When you're doing your due diligence, purchasing a piece of property that you're wanting as an investment, I would do the conditional use permit before I closed on it. I mean, I would
Yes,
get.
it's kind of a more of a pain in the butt to do it that way. It's
Well, and I
possible,
understand
We've
but
had lots of people come and do that with,
Yes.
you know,
Mhm.
like,
yeah, they just need.
Because I mean,
voters
you
active.
look at most of the stuff that we've approved in the last couple of years here on bigger projects like that. A majority of them fall in that conditional use, or we're doing a zone change, or you know, or the
I don't
overlay,
love
or-
it, Lloyd.
am I super slow? So you're saying like you want to make like concrete production gypsum?
No.
No, no.
Saying
Change the
accessory
Ps to Cs.
buildings.
So
Like the
Barbary.
government building one, you just want to make it conditional.
yeah. So anything that's a P that does not fall within the
I was like,
residential.
what are we doing here?
Right.
I don't like this at all.
No, everything that's got a line through it that's not permissible stays the same. It's just anything that doesn't fall within your residential
So park, open
dwelling.
space, you want to move to conditional.
I mean, if we're
I
gonna
just
change
feel like
everything
that's
else.
really shooting ourselves in the foot with people who are speculating.
That one's going away.
But
I know, but I'm
Government
looking at
facilities.
the map and I'm like, yeah, we're not really affecting too much with it.
No, but it's already such a big jump for people to try something out there that might just be like, never mind.
But think
But-
think about all the multiple use you've established here too. Let's encourage people to put their investments there.
Because I look at places like where you threw that on the map, the recreational, you've thrown it into really specific places, which that's a desire. So if somebody's wanting to do something in a desired area like that for a reason, whether it's tourism or whatever, then they're going to go through just the conditional use to make that happen.
Now, height's not in our control, but just for sake of
Argument.
discussion, height needs a prayer for somebody to get something going up there. And if we make them go through a conditional use, I think that's just enough of a hiccup. And I talk to people all the time about this, and they're like, nope, never mind. If it's conditional, nope, never mind.
Why does height need anything to happen there?
Don't get stuck on height. Don't even, let's go to any other spot. Let's go to Fry Canyon. I worry that it's one more hurdle and it's one more deterrent for people to try something in places that really need something.
But do they really? When you've got all this multiple use you're establishing, the county is opening up so much. There's got to be a balance there. I
It's
think.
almost a safe control zone.
Can I just say something from practice, since that's what, I mean, to me, it's just evidence why maybe there needs to be something else. Because there may be places where you don't want to condition it, but someplace like Cat Creek, where it's mostly all residential, that would ease our minds 100%.
What about a place like Mexican Hat, which already has all that development, and that's going green?
And now anything you do down there has to go through conditional use. Yes, boss?
I kind of like it. I really like all the C's and the P's in recreational support. Obviously, mine are the one that shouldn't be there, the hotel motel. But even the government facility, part of me is, I mean, it's government land. I think of like Cane Springs out there. They've got their little visitor center thing, and I mean, that's, I don't know if that's on a school section or if they magically pulled some BLM ground to build that on, but
But being able to just be permitted
yeah, I mean,
makes sense.
and same thing with this Bears Ears. I mean, if they want to do, like I said, like a visitor center or an education center or whatever magical government money they find, I'm fine with that, I guess. Not like the county would make any money there anyways.
The other, might kind of fill it out individually. So you're for keeping it.
I like it.
I think I'm gonna have to disagree
Any
with
other
you.
comments?
With that one change, the hotel.
With the hotel
motel.
motel, that was typo.
Yeah.
Okay, so is Lloyd the odd man out? Does anybody else want to do
I would
conditional?
support anything more restrictive and recreational support. So what Lloyd is proposing sounds more restrictive to me. So I would support that.
Melissa, how you feeling? Comments on it?
I go with the way it's written right now.
Okay, Thomas, how you feeling? Any comments?
I agree with Melissa.
What about the hotel part?
No, that's out.
That's changed. That's already done.
All
Moving on.
Hands back on that one.
That is really getting everybody.
Okay, Lloyd, I got you. I know where you stand. Shay, how you feeling about it?
I like it the way it is.
Okay. Okay, so on this one, we're not so 50-50. We'll probably just keep it as is. Thank you for your comments, Lloyd.
You bet. I'm not done.
Okay, what else you got on the use table?
Actually, I'm pretty good. I mean, other than, my thoughts on the error.
I know. Okay, any other comments on the use table? Again, this is, I think, our 4th round of this as well, so it's been pretty hacked.
I have some comments or questions, and they're not a lot, so I'll make it fast. The accessory dwelling unit, I just want clarity on this. Are we going to somewhere put that these are not, that RVs are not accessory dwelling units?
So I think that's covered under dwelling temporary use of an RV or trailer. In the RV ordinance, so it says if you are in an RV park, you can be there longer term. But you cannot be in an RV on property that is not a designated RV park.
Okay, I just want to make sure what's the.
And I am going to
staff's
rename that to
recommend-
be dwelling dash accessory unit.
Okay.
Just so it's all together.
So we can combine it.
Yeah, just so that in the map or
So
in
where
the
is
table it looks
RVs?
better.
Show me
It's in a
RV.
couple of places.
So RV, so you have the temporary used as a dwelling, which that's
And
just
what is defined as temporary?
so it's 6 months plus 3 6-month extensions. So like the guy up in LaSalle who's building a house, he's living in the RV. He applied for temp use, and once the house is done, all of that will go away.
So in multi-use, just under, because like you said, there's 3 or 4 places. What can I do in an RV in multi-use?
So if you go to RV parks is what you're looking for. And it is permitted in a multi-use.
Conditional.
And in the
It's
def,
Oh,
conditional.
sorry, conditional. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. My bad.
Well, so, I mean, we all know we have a ton of this. Like, where can you live in an RV? Just a park? An RV park is the only place?
An RV park. And this is a big issue right now. We have a ton of people living in RVs. And we did have that discussion at a previous workshop of, do we want to allow for it, or are we opening up a disaster that we can't police? So we want to try to get people into, we want people to work towards a better housing option, but we don't want to punish people who
So, I mean, I
that's
guess
what they got.
I guess my point is, I'm all for. I don't.
So you can have 18 months temporary in an RV while you build. Actually, no, it'd be 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
Okay, but
Does he get 3?
Okay,
I
but at
mean-
some point we want you in a house.
but
that
what
you're
if they
working
can't be
on.
in a house? What if they just can't
Then you need
afford
to
a house,
find a permanent RV park spot.
but they own 5 acres?
Yeah,
And the reason for this is because the policing side of it is getting very difficult, especially around LaSalle, where
Policing, like how? Are we just talking What?
poop buckets. That's what we're talking. But they only have one RV out there, but they don't have any hookups. And so how do we, like?
Okay, but we sit here and we allow
So
we allow that stupid camp that I got bullied on. What was that? The pack out in a sack your poop.
which we're doing
Primitive-
away with that.
Primitive camp.
We're doing away with that. Sanitation
The
has
church,
to be.
the church guy.
Yeah, and that's primitive camping thus far has been, on the websites they say pack it in, pack it out. And you're like, people are not doing that. And so we in the new ordinance are forcing sanitation. Because no one is packing it out.
I'm not gonna pack it out.
No.
Would you?
Well, we voted and let them.
That was yesterday. Today's a new day, Cody.
But I mean, they're just.
So that was the RV discussion is if people are in a designated RV park and the compromise to that is we allowed RV parks in more areas. So as long as they have hookups, that's the main thing. As long as they got hookups, we're okay with them being there long term.
Okay, so we always, at least we did for 2 or 3 months before you were here, we talked about the same person. So if he's magically listening, we'll use his name and hopefully. So we talked about Richie Monson when Scott was here, like north of Blanding. I think he lives on, I don't know, 5+ acres. Mm-hmm. He has a meat shop and sold his house, lives in his RV. It's got a septic. He's been there for, I don't know how long he's been there, 4 or 5 years. Why do we care?
So are you thinking maybe we need to have a clause?
No, I'm just saying we ought to make it conditional that they come in and say, we say yes. If that's all you can afford and you own that piece of ground, it's conditional, but we want to know you have a septic system.
Yeah.
You have water, I mean, because if it's going to be long term, if you're just parked there at the farm for a week and you're going to go take it to a dump site, to 7-Eleven or RV park or wherever you dump, that's fine. But if you're there long term, like I'll use him again, I may not like it. I may think, the energy code and all this. But if that's what he can afford and that's what he's living in, I don't think we can. I mean, we talked about poverty in this county.
Are we gonna require tie downs?
Yeah, I mean
Is it gonna be a trailer house set up?
Because this is where taxes get weird, whether it's personal property or through the DMV,
Well, it is personal.
or
Well, no, it can't be.
if it's
personal
a
because
fixed,
it's
all of a
DMV.
sudden it's residential.
Yeah, but you still get the land, the property tax from the land. I'm with Cody.
I mean,
We can. I mean,
I
that was my
appreciate you. I
original-
like you a lot, but I'm not the assessor. I'm planning and zoning here, and so we talk about the tax collection all the time. And I'm not the tax guy. If I wanted to run for assessor, I'd run for assessor, but I don't want to be the bad guy. And I'm a bad guy enough on planning and zoning, and I just hate to be the guy that's like, well, I know that's all you can afford, but you can't live here anymore.
We've had this discussion, and I was very much originally for how can we make RVs a permanent solution. The problem is then instead of working your way up the housing ladder, you just stall out in an RV.
But that's okay.
Yeah, you don't have to
I'm less
move up
concerned with
the
that
housing
than I am
ladder.
with sanitation, right?
Right,
We have folks
and
that
we definitely
can't afford to do much, and they park their RV.
See,
on
like
one of
my-
these
my
lots
other
and
problem-
just open up the
I
sewer,
know,
right?
I
You
know
can't have
people will probably have a hard time with this, but the reservation is a fact in San Juan County. I spend a lot of time work on the reservation, and this side of the river is we mandate a lot out of people, and those other people, the reservation, there's a lot of people living in, and we don't give them a bad time. We can't. It's the reservation. I get that, but they live in tough sheds that I don't know what they have for septic. I don't know what they have. And I don't know if the tribe does either. But they live in poor conditions. And there's a lot of people around Blanding when 7-Eleven closed their camp park, there was probably 25 campers, RVs, and one trailer. They had to go somewhere. And we've seen where some of them have gone, Kristen, around Blanding in different places, and some of those aren't approved. They ought to be approved. They ought to be conditional. But we shouldn't make that illegal. We should find a way in this ordinance.
I'm very much with you on that, and I always have been. So you're suggesting get rid of temporary. So dwelling.
No,
RV trailer.
I'm fine with if you're like the LaSalle, or we did one in Spanish Valley. He's got a building permit. It's temporary. He's living there. When he gets that done in that multi-use area there, he's gonna go away, but.
So hear me out on just so we can make some ground in the right direction. If we got rid of temporary use of inn, and we just said dwelling, RV trailer, and we made it conditional. So you have to come in and apply, and you have to show us on your site map where the hookups are and your timeline and your plan. I would like to revisit where, if we say that RV trailers can be used as dwellings, and I'm going to have to pass that through our legal team of if that's even possible as per like HUD and stuff.
They're not designed for full-time.
They're not designed for, and that's where legal might have something against this, despite our best intentions. But if that's the case, do we want to allow them conditionally pretty much across the board, or should we limit it to like ag where you have a 5-acre parcel to do that on?
That's what I think.
Why would you call it conditional? Why not just make it permitted?
I think
they have to meet, to get.
Because there's no certificate of occupancy with that.
It's not a building permit, so they don't come.
Well, they'd get a building permit, but there would never.
Would they get the building permit?
No, I mean they would never get a building permit.
You got to get a building permit for a stub.
No,
you don't.
For a post, you're supposed to.
Oh, for power?
No,
yeah.
But I put power on my property.
Are you saying for just a
septic?
septic?
All I gotta have is a single outlet on it, and I can get it approved, and then I can bring in whatever I want after. There's no permitting for it, and that's why this is kind of a gray area, and we're heading down the wrong direction right now.
I mean, I am also I'm
I'm
worried
just
about
afraid
fire codes
we're
and
not
other
requiring
stuff with
sewer,
it.
We're not requiring water because we have no way to. I mean,
There's no mechanism.
Yeah. There's nothing in place, and there's not going to be anything in place to make sure without the building permit that we not only don't want to take their rights away, but we don't want them to be living in an unsafe environment.
And that's where I'm very much for it, but the policing is there's no checkpoints.
The other one too. I mean, RVs, they've got a 30-pound snow load, if that. I mean, we hit 60.
Yeah, and winds, so they'd have to be tied down.
There's no wind load to them at all. I mean, they'll do 85 down the highway. You've done it, but that's a headwind. That's not side wind. I've seen in
no,
Spanish
but
Valley, I've seen
the only
3
difference
campers.
you're adding all that, but the only difference is you're saying an RV park, all that magically goes away. But me having an RV on my own lot, then I have to worry about all that. What's the difference?
I'm just concerned about when the fire catches the whole family on the RV, and it shouldn't have been there to begin with.
But it's okay if it's in an RV park and you're paying $45 a night.
Because those are inspected.
Well, that's why I'm saying that. Why can't we go?
You have a water source. You have fire. You're in the middle of nowhere. You want 5 acres with a camper. I mean, there's.
Well, it's just like a trailer burned up in Blanding 2 or 3 months ago, right there at the end of spring. I mean,
are we getting into alternative dwelling unit territory here?
Well, I just do want to point out that the alternative dwelling unit definition says it is a building. It specifies building.
Accessory?
ADU.
Are you talking about an
Accessory
alternative dwelling unit, or are
Oh,
you talking about?
alternative.
Accessory dwelling.
I'm talking,
But there's-
it, we don't have alternative.
No,
So-
that's what I'm saying. Are we getting into that territory with this discussion? Because I agree.
Like
I
a
think
tiny
if you
home on
have ag
wheels?
land, you should live in whatever you want to live in. But like you said, conditional, so they have the health department or whoever. Has
I
to
mean,
sign off.
I'm gonna get very personal here and without naming any names, but if he's listening, he knows it's him. My friend moved in a tiny house on wheels. Because it's on wheels, doesn't have to be affixed, blah, blah, blah. They totally messed his house up because there was no checkpoints. He buried his house below grade in a hole, but it's on wheels. So that's where I'm like, we're literally trying to protect people from themselves. And so I don't want to get bogged down on this discussion. Let me open up what our options are with our legal team. Even if legally we can allow people
Well,
to be in there because
so
it's
real quick, like
intent.
Blanding has a couple RV parks. So one of the people that moved from 7-Eleven moved to the other, and I kind of thought it was crappy, but Blanding did a whole inspection process. So in order for him inside the RV park, he had to hook up to power, they had to inspect, they had to skirt it. Because the RV, they did have to tie it down. They had to make sure, there were sewer hookups.
So at that point, it's
So-
almost like a modular.
But I'm saying, I will use Richie again. If there ought to be a condition that he can do that. We'd be like, okay, like we know it's at least skirted, tied down, and you have a septic system. And if they come and that's the condition, the minimum condition, then I can't police everybody. I can't save everybody from themselves. Like, nobody can save me from all the stupid ass things I do. And I don't want you to. But I think we ought to find a way to at least those people that I know a lot of them, and I don't know how they get out of where they're at, but I don't want to tell them come the 22nd or the 2nd of July, well, you're illegal now. I hope for more for them too, but if they're working and they're doing their best and that's all they've got, we have to find a way in. And then we kind of have to I don't want to revisit. I know we're short on time. I know we need to push this along, but it really is a big deal to me because I just look around Blanding and we just made it almost all multi-use. So it would obviously have to be ag multi-use that it was conditional. That's my thought.
Okay, so let me get our legal options available before we dive way deep into stuff we can't even do.
Oh, legal messes it up every time.
However, just keep in mind that we have made RV parks in more areas to try to promote the ability for this option.
So and my thing is, the difference is an RV park, 99% of the time is short term. That's what our RV park is people passing through. A trailer park is a different definition, which that's where you have your full-time residents. Right. And 99% of the time they don't allow RVs because they don't meet tie down requirements and everything else that is required within a city or a county or whatever.
So are you suggesting we add trailer parks?
I think we talked about that a few
Yeah, we should.
last month.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just as a reminder, I don't think your microphones or speakers are on here. I'll fix that. As you think through your planning and zoning, and I hear all of your statement, Cody's statements. Okay, they make sense in today's world, in today's market. You want people in housing, and because housing isn't affordable here right now, it's kind of the situation that we're in. And so, but part of planning and zoning, the reason why planning and zoning came about initially was to protect property values. And so if you allow it for a condition, and this is just a reminder on any conditional use, essentially you're saying
it's permitted as long as you suffice these conditions that we're going to place on you to mitigate, any hazards or health or, those conditions that we try to get it in there. So by allowing your RVs in a mixed use zone as a conditional, you're permitting them. Yet you think back to Spanish Valley and the mixed use there, you may be now having to allow an RV to be placed on the property adjacent to a $500,000 home. And that, you just, the only thing you can look at, you can't deny it. You're now in that mode. Well, what do we do to mitigate the effects on the adjacent property? And so you kind of got to keep that in mind in all of that, is if you allow it as a conditional use, then in what zones you allow it in, that you're permitting it as long as you have these conditions that you place on it. And so it makes it a little bit more difficult. I did just a quick search of several other counties. Pretty much every county that I looked at for RVs themselves are pushing them to the RV campgrounds settings. Nothing opens up to other neighborhoods. There is an RV subdivision that another county had created. It will allow an RV subdivision here, but it's not an isolated one-off property that we just allow an RV to set up on. A lot of them are super stringent on the timing, and we've discussed that before here, as we allow them temporary, but if you think of the overall scheme of, you don't want the public to have to live in an RV. That's just it's not good. It's not healthy. Yet in today's market, we even have families living in canvas tents. We should, as a society, never have that type of a situation. And so really we need to work our efforts so that it's becoming all too common nowadays with RV living, because literally that I can afford an RV. That's easy. I can't afford a $400,000 home. And so we've got to get to a point where we have solutions on housing so that we can get affordable housing, so that you can transition into that. It's not the American's dream to own your land and live in an RV. It's the American dream to own your land and have a house and things like that. And so we need to get to that somehow, and we're working on that with our housing study. But I just want to throw that anecdote in there that, as this planning ordinance develops, this is a long-term thought, and you're planning for the future, but understanding, hey, this is the situation we're in today. Does it make sense to all of a sudden allow, as in these specific zones, anybody to come in on their property and get the utilities to hook up an RV site, and that's their permanent dwelling unit now? Makes it a little bit difficult on the adjacent property owner, especially if they come in and they want to do a resort, and next to them is this RV that we've allowed to be there full time as a residential unit. And so just some thoughts. I can't find it where other counties, there's really nothing in state code that dictates, recreation vehicles and what can be and can't be allowed in county land use. It's pretty much up to the counties, it looks like, to regulate and define where it's allowed and permitted.
I mean, I see where there's lots of problems. I really do. Like you said, you have that acre lot you have 2 acre lots in multi-use in Spanish Valley, since we talk about Spanish Valley all the time. And your scenario is 100% correct. But we all know sitting here, I mean, I know the lady that makes $19 an hour working at Four Corners Care Center. She goes to work, she puts 40 hours in. Who the freaking hell can live in a house?
How you can't afford it
with 3 kids? So I mean, I understand the can of worms that I'm opening, but on the same hand, I just don't think I I can't come and say to her, well, I'm sorry, today you're illegal and you're going to get a letter from the county. You know, even though you own this piece of property, you're there, you've been there already. I mean, I don't necessarily have this master great solution, and I know that's what planning and zoning is supposed to be, but we can zoom in a map and I can show you 40 of them around Blanding that
Not yet.
that you know.
I hear you, and I think Mac kind of nailed it with like, are we enabling a behavior that we don't want to see? And it's not the way it should be.
We're enabling you to be poor.
Well, but the flip side of that is, you know, at some point we're going to force housing options because no one can afford them. So at some point, but if we keep enabling people to make a livelihood out of an RV, then it never forces the other side of it to compromise.
Yeah, because that nice RV to live in is $100,000, and you can go buy a HUD single wide trailer for $85,000.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find used HUD homes all over the Western Slope for $30,000 to $40,000 that are after the 78. I think it was 78 or 79 cutoff date when they started creating the HUD standards. So, I mean, there is a lot of affordable ones out there versus, I mean, you look at classifieds for campers right now and they're outrageous. So, I mean, there is the options out there. It's just sometimes it's more convenient to be able to back up, hook onto it, and pull up there and
Well, I guess
drive away.
my thought is, how about what is the trailer park? Okay, so
I cannot find trailer park.
We don't have
We
it
don't
in our
have it.
summary.
And
We don't have it.
that's
We need
one
it.
of the things I was going to say.
You know,
It
so
needs to
maybe
be
we're missing
manufactured
that,
home park.
and maybe I would compromise on the, you know, if they wanted to come in and say, you know, this is the trailer park. I mean, anyways, we could evaluate it that way, because even in Blanding, and I kind of disagree with Blanding in a way. I mean, because it has this problem with these existing trailer lots, and so they try to put other things on them. But even in Blanding, a trailer park, under certain conditions, they allow an RV. You know, a fifth wheel or this or that. And so maybe that's a compromise solution to where we have some kind of a trailer park.
Just because of the nature of them, should we include RV parks and trailer parks together? Because it seems like the nature of it would be, you know, it's conditional in ag, highway commercial, multi-use, and recreational support.
I wouldn't put them together because they're two totally different things.
Yeah, we
One's
had
a
that
short
huge
term
discussion,
and one is a full time.
And
But I agree with what you're saying.
So
as
we
they
do
go
need to add
across
it to the
board.
list?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And let's just go across. Trailer park. Residential.
Permitted.
Cool.
Yes.
Sure about that?
Trailer park?
In
Say
residential,
in
absolutely.
residential, permitted.
Conditional,
Permissible.
not conditional?
I wouldn't think so. I mean,
I-
you're creating housing.
I'm with Thomas.
I mean,
Speak freely, Thomas, for both of us.
Speak freely, Melissa and Lloyd, shut up.
right. Right. I mean, you're talking about protecting property values and on one hand, and then also putting
I
a
would say
trailer
a
park next to
conditional.
$1 million home.
really,
No,
But remember that
and
conditional is
I understand
basically
what you're saying.
permitted,
I look
as
at
long as you meet these requirements.
you look at Holdahaven.
I can I can see it
And
more in like
Arizona,
multi-use
nice
where we
housing
already
around it.
have
It is a
higher
nice,
density.
but,
I
I
would,
mean,
I would
housing.
probably lean towards even residential, not
I
permitted.
guess there is the ups and downs.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
don't think
and
I
then
would
like
permit
a
it.
multi-use,
So, RV park, like a temporary
community
RV park is
commercial
permitted
ag
or conditional.
Right,
as
because it's
conditional.
Or residential flex?
RV
Nope.
parks are
Yeah.
short term.
Don't even
That's what
mention
you're
it. It pains. There,
That's why
it's
I
just
was
made a
looking at it
mess.
that way.
It's an absolute mess.
So what are you thinking as?
I'm thinking more of our high density spaces like multi-use
Yeah,
ag because of the space of ag. Maybe even
But if we're protecting our ag, why are we putting trailer parks in
because we're putting RV parks in it too.
it? I know.
Yeah. Additional.
So,
I disagree strongly with allowing it in residential. Not to
At
be
all.
at all. Not to be elitist about it, but we're trying to
I've
protect
been in
the single family
a
residents.
lot of towns where they have manufactured homes. Quit calling them trailer parks. Manufactured homes.
Now that I think that's where we got sidetracked. Is we got rid of the term trailer because it was
Right.
on the original list.
Yes.
And we said manufactured
Because
homes.
a HUD home is what it is. It meets the HUD standards. But
I'm
I've
gonna
been through
asterisk
many
that.
and many of towns that they're right in the
Right in
residential
there, right.
areas. They always are. They're right in the mix of it because they are a residential thing. They shouldn't be in a commercial zone. They shouldn't. And with us, we have a little more grace because we do have our multi-use. It shouldn't be in commercial. Either one of them. I don't think they should be pushed into the ag. They're not to be industrial. So I mean,
So let's do what
so
we
if you're
don't
planning for the-
want them in first. That might be easier.
Well, and part of it too is
I would probably just say we don't want them in my feeling. We don't want them in residential. We probably don't want them in ag. We probably do want them in community commercial, and we probably do want them in multi-use. And just to draw that, like what I'm familiar with is like a zone 1, a zone 2. A zone 1
Probably-
is kind of like a covenanted. These are 100 feet of frontage. They're a little nicer lot, newer lot, like hopefully a Rambler, attached garage kind of, and we kind of separate that, even though we don't do that here, residential and multi-use, but.
see, and I disagree on the community commercial. But so like that's your little mom and papa shops down your main drags. That's your we don't want to throw a trailer park right on Main Street.
Okay, how about
Well, we'd
this?
have
I
to-
think to protect our economically viable space, we should not have them in highway commercial, community commercial, and industrial for safety reasons.
Right.
so think about the applicability of it. So you have to remember in this zoning, we're unincorporated. And so do you want trailer parks on the unincorporated portions of the county? And then I try to think through that logic. Okay, now what is that going to require for water? And how am I supposed to provide the water systems that are essential for a trailer park? It's difficult even for us in unincorporated to make sure that we have the water for just a residential lot or a commercial lot. And now you're going to throw trailer parks in there where I can do a high density trailer park. I can have 50 trailers all in one little area. There are a vast majority of our county. We can't even get the septic systems approved for some of the single family homes. And then you start going to resorts. Then we start to question the resorts. Do we have the septic available and percolation of the soil type? And now the water comes in with that as well, because you have to provide the water for a trailer park. And so thinking alongside of that, it's difficult too, because you have Spanish Valley. You would want them to incorporate in the future. And then you take that Spanish Valley and they're their city and they plan for those things where you would typically have a trailer park in a town or a city. And even LaSalle, you take LaSalle, for example, there was the trailer park that came before Planning Commission that a lot of people came out and didn't want in that area. And that part of that was, well, we don't even have the infrastructure. We're on dirt roads. And now you're sticking a trailer park here. And, there was a pretty big outcry of not allowing that in there. And so just think that through on, paged. So just think that through on the unincorporated standpoint. Does it really make sense? Does it flow? Certainly in a city and a town, you would. But outside of that, you're countywide in that thought.
Okay, so I've just got a scenario because it's one I've thought. So I own a piece of ground north of Landing on Kiva Drive. It's alongside the highway. It's 2.5 acres. There is municipal water running along the highway. So if you live out in Blanding, outside of Blanding City, I think a 2-inch hookup is now $60,000. So Jared Barrett's done it. We approved that.
Yeah.
If you go through Blanding, you see it. And so I thought about, like a little rim rock. I like that in Spanish Valley a lot, but you got Jared Barrett, so I don't want to compete against Jared Barrett and all that. So I thought, well, I could do a 10-unit trailer park. Housing is needed.
Housing is needed. And you're adjacent to
and I have
on a public system.
Public water.
Yep, public system.
And so I could either do 10 units or I could do a commercial like Jared's doing.
Yeah.
Septic system.
So it makes sense.
So to me, that makes sense.
It does.
In that municipal or
LaSalle,
multi-use zone.
LaSalle, you have no public water system,
So, yeah, maybe
no sewer
not,
system,
but I just
and
feel like
yeah, we're working on it. But
there
that's
definitely are places.
yes. And so it's just be cognizant of that thought.
Could we just make it conditional in
Or maybe just multi-use.
multi-use? Yeah.
And multi-use.
And not have it permissible anywhere else.
So Spanish Valley's multi-use.
Yeah, and that's.
You
I
just
think
put it in
that's-
Spanish Valley.
Yeah,
So-
I think that's
A trailer park.
appropriate.
And just a little history. When I was born, we lived in Alda Haven.
Is that a trailer park?
That's Grand Oasis now.
Okay.
And it's really nice. And
Yeah.
that was a start for my mom and dad.
Yeah.
They started
That was
there. They
that
bought
was
a
my
trailer.
start. Yeah.
Once they had it paid
First
off,
house.
they went and bought a piece of property out in the
Mm-hmm.
mountain. I started there.
Yeah.
Had my first trailer
Yep.
down there. Had my second trailer down there.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting out of there and buying property.
You just moved up.
Without being in that dense apartment building, you have your own little lot, your own place. Whether you're buying something, it is a starting point for people.
Is that in a town or that was all in Moab, right?
Yeah.
So all within a city.
And residential all the
All
way
around
around
it.
it.
Mhm.
The hospital was right there.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is a starting point for young families.
Yeah.
And I just hate to
It's
make
a starting point for me. That's exactly the same model.
Well, I mean, we're not the gatekeepers of it, right? We're just saying,
Right.
But there's 100 other things that folks are going to have to meet to be able to build a trailer park, and Mac alluded to a bunch of them, right? So,
Right. So if you were to put it in residential, you could make it conditional use, that we have a little more say of what's going on with it.
Yeah.
And depending on where it's going, like Max said, your water and sewer is going to dictate a lot of your size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, your density that you can have.
How
in
many?
it,
Yep. Yep.
What we're requiring for space and stuff around the homes,
Mhm.
instead of being we call it out 10 feet apart. That's required by fire. Is that still on trailer parks? It's 10 foot.
I think it's
minimum
16.
10 foot.
I think it's 16.
Is it 16? So I mean that's part of your conditional use.
Yeah.
I mean you
You
can't
got to
just
comply
go-
with zoning and
Yeah.
building code and yeah.
Is this a planned unit development?
I wouldn't call it that. No.
No. Okay.
Mm-mm. No, I would just. I mean, if we're talking about it, I would say permissible and multi-use and conditional and residential. That would be the only two I'd throw it at because you're trying to protect your ag
I would say conditional wherever we put it.
in both.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So my vote. Since I don't get one, but I have to work on this.
Wait, when did you get a vote?
She gets the mouse and the vote now.
Just because I have to deal with it on the flip side. I think residential, ag, and multi-use conditional.
sounds good.
Okay.
Oh yeah, hold on. I'm getting the nods. Oh yeah, okay. And so we will have to add that section into
The table, right?
we'll type up a
Is it
section.
mobile homes instead of? I don't think you do trailer.
No, it's going to be manufactured.
We somewhere along the line we went from trailer homes
have
to manufactured
manufactured-
homes, and then we got rid of trailer
Yeah.
houses. And
So we have
stuff.
manufactured home sales and we have manufactured home fabrication,
Right.
right? But nowhere to put that
Because we
fabrication.
did have it in here, and then we made that change, and it just kind of disappeared. So
So it's a manufactured home park.
yes, mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is for long-term.
Conditional,
Residential and multi-use.
but not ag.
No ag.
Oh, I said ag.
Yeah.
Oh, you did say ag?
Yes,
Yeah,
and
you
you
said
went,
ag.
uh huh.
You guys
And I was like,
in
perfect. Sounds
ag.
good.
Makes no sense.
Well, it's conditional, so if it's out too far,
I can just see, like, especially around Blanding, what Cody was saying. You know, it's close enough to town, and there's big lots out here to actually do something with. I can
Cody
see.
don't want it next to his place. He already said that.
I'm sorry, I was going to the bathroom. I didn't hear that part.
The RV park is permissible in ag?
No, RV park's conditional as well.
Oh,
Conditional all the way across.
Because I just, okay.
but in certain zones, not permitted. There's some that it's not permitted.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on use table?
Well, can we go back to accessory dwelling unit where I was trying to understand that, like, so in multiple use, if you already have a building, a primary dwelling, that an accessory dwelling on that lot should not be an RV. I just want to make sure that we are clear.
Yeah, it defines accessory dwelling unit cannot be an RV park.
Where
Cannot
does
be
it-
an RV trailer.
Where does it say that?
In the definitions.
It just says it has to be a building.
Yeah, it just
Okay.
says a building other
Well,
than.
that wouldn't be an RV.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that that's nice and clear, that the public isn't, a property owner isn't like, yeah, I understand this to be an accessory dwelling can be an RV. Just, I wouldn't want the property owner to think they could put an RV as an accessory dwelling unit on there. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anything else on table?
Yes.
Okay, good. The fun one.
Wait. I said
Oh, sorry. I
Quick.
thought you said yes. Let's move.
I wasn't.
I thought you were
talking-
like, yes,
That wasn't
let's
me
move on.
that whole last half hour, by the way.
Why did she look at me? Because I think Cody was involved too. so-
I started off with accessory dwelling unit, and it got morphed into that other conversation.
Sorry.
Okay, so
Good discussion.
Sitla, I have a question about them. Now they have a different zoning. What ordinances are they going to use to apply their
So-
zoning to?
The map that you see, they call them different. They title them differently than we do. What we have shown on the map, and again, Sitla's on their own merits, but we work with them and they want to work with us. But what we have shown on the map is the closest definition of their zone to our zone.
But I'm asking about the ordinances that go with their land.
They will be using the newly adopted ordinance
That's awfully
as
confusing.
a strong compared to what? Like it's a
Because
strong
you're calling-
recommendation to work with the county.
Because their zone names, right, are, if you look at the legend,
They're different.
they're different. So how is that going to?
We'll work with them when we get there. There will only be one ordinance, and that is what we're doing. So that would be the ordinance that they are attempting to work with. So they may have to adjust. We will not be adjusting our ordinance to them. They will have to adjust to work with us to uphold that.
Okay.
And we've met with them on here as well, so they're aware of the map and everything that we presented to them. They met with our consultant as well on there, and so they do have that community structure plan, I think is what they called it initially, that was adopted by the commission and you.
Theirs isn't included with ours.
They haven't called foul on everything, but it would roll to this ordinance.
So then shouldn't their zones be named the same things as our zones? If they're going to be using our ordinances, the San Juan County.
I
So,
think
like,
that's
we-
adjustable for them. That would be on their end of things.
That makes sense to everybody here? Okay.
It only makes sense to me because the little bit I've dealt with Sitla, just on, anyways, Sitla does what Sitla wants to do,
I mean,
ultimately.
there's not much we can do about it.
And so we are trying to bring them in. This is how I understand it. Maybe I'm wrong. We try to bring them in. We try to we want to work with you, right? We want to come up with a plan. We want to have as much input as possible. And the commission, the same thing with Spanish Valley's plan. But we all know in the back of our minds that if they want, Sitla doesn't answer to us. As much as we don't like that, and trust me, they don't. Like, on a grazing section, or they are in it for Sitla, and they do what Sitla's going to do. And so, anyways, that's my thought with Sitla is we want to work with you. We want to as much input as we can. We would like our plan to correspond with each other. Isn't that where everybody's kind of at? But we all kind of know that Sitla, we can't dictate ultimately and have a firm line with Sitla, or we just won't be at the table.
True, and our Sitla representatives are working very closely with us
And
on this. So
I just
we're
wanted it
trying to
addressed.
coordinate efforts, but since that was pitched a couple years ago, things have changed, so it's all very malleable between us and them.
Okay.
I mean,
We have the master, if it was a perfect world plan in mind together.
Great. Thank you for clarifying that. The hospital, it's now become not permitted in multiple use. And I'm just wondering why.
I don't think it's going anywhere. The clinic,
Okay,
is
clinic.
that what you're referencing?
Well, clinic is permitted in.
Okay.
use.
So hospitals we have permitted in highway commercial and conditional in community commercial.
Community commercial where it's sitting.
So it changed from permitted in community commercial to now conditional, and in multiple use it went from permitted to not permitted in multiple use. And my question is, why would we not want a hospital in multiple use? As, for example, there's a hospital in a multiple use zone in the county next door.
I think we could open that up.
I didn't know if it was
Do you have it
intentional.
defined as a clinic or a hospital?
Yeah.
Because there's two differences.
Hospital.
Yeah, I thought community commercial, the way we were doing it was commercial was higher up, right? It was we wanted multi-use to be less big.
The in between.
Yeah, the in between. And I see clinic in in multi-use, and hospital in community commercial if it's really bigger.
Is that what everybody's thinking?
So
That's
that's
sort of what that was
Yeah.
my
clinic is conditional in multi-use.
Yeah,
correct?
clinic,
Yeah.
Yes.
or even permitted.
No, I think it's
don't remember.
permitted.
No, it's
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 permitted.
so
But
highway,
a hospital is
community,
not.
and
And that's just what
multi-use, it's
Melissa's
all
saying, the
permissible.
scale of it.
No, that's how I envision it. Say you have the
It's conditional and residential.
chiropractor, or the
Yeah, dentist.
even though the public health, you go get a shot, that can be multi-use.
Mhm.
But the hospital probably ought to be.
Big.
Yeah.
Okay, I just
That's
I
what
wanted to check and make sure that wasn't like something we missed. I want to bring up this other one. In the key, we've got permitted for, a little key for what the P stands for, what the C stands for, and dash. And then it says under that asterisk, any use not listed is not allowed. And I'm wondering if we need to have a better definition there. Something maybe like, if it's not explicitly defined or listed, because we don't have a lot of definitions for a lot of these things. So people can start to redefine things, and if we don't have a definition and it's not explicitly defined, I don't know how do you keep everybody on the same page as what a this or a that really is.
On the use table?
Yeah.
Like, do we need to tighten up the language there for if it's not I'm just saying maybe we change that to any use not explicitly defined
Is up for
or
debate.
listed
Well, no use, yeah.
is not allowed.
Well, and I feel like that's
Something to
that
tighten up.
where that actually like road or tires meet the road or however that goes. Pavement meets the tires. I don't know. Anyways,
Rubber
meets
meets the road.
yeah, that guy.
So you just change the language on there. So any use not listed is not allowed.
Well, I thought
I don't know
I thought
about
legally, like we'd gone through this. I thought legally, especially when
With definitions?
what's his name was here before
Alex.
Alex. So I thought we got in trouble, and legally, I thought if it was not defined, then it was permitted. And that's why we worked so hard on the definition. So if we did not want it permitted, we defined it. If we did not want the truck stop, like we tried to be specific in the language that it was not permitted, it is, or it's conditional, but I believe that's the legal guidance we got, that if it was just magically left off.
But and he was going off our old ordinance. He did specify that if you were gonna on things like that you don't have listed, you have to specify it like they've done here. Anything that's not listed is not a permissible use in any zone. We did not have that on the old one.
Correct.
And that's why things were able to roll through that were not on our ordinance, because it wasn't listed that they can't be permissible or conditional if they're not on there. So I mean, it was just a free for all on the old ordinance.
And Ben and I would.
Whoa. But there were things when we started looking at this that we realized were not in here, and I'm
Correct.
sure there are lots of things
Yes.
that are not in here. So
And I think that's a
that
staff.
language is any use not listed is not allowed is probably too strict. Any use not listed needs to talk to the planning department.
Yeah. So I mean that's a kind of a staff revision that we would then bring to planning commission of, hey, these people want to do this thing that we didn't think about, and do we want to just make this adjustment to our use table?
Then you amend your zoning, allow for it.
But Ben and I would be the boots on the ground of this. When people are applying for building permits, we look at this and say, is it permitted, conditional? And if it's real fuzzy, we'll bring that to you. Most people are pretty straight up, like, oh, you're doing a nursery. It looks like a nursery. It's typical size for a nursery. Here it is.
Okay.
Versus if it gets into.
So I actually have one. Like, it's really stupid, and you're gonna laugh. Like, why is he saying this? But it's like, what if I want to do Bitcoin mining?
That's home occupation.
Energy production.
Data center?
See, we just got 3 answers. I mean, like I said, everybody's gonna laugh.
I
But,
like TC's best.
but I think we would all be fine with them coming and saying, "Hey, like,
It's not allowed.
okay,
Yeah.
it's
This is
not
an
listed
in-between.
there.
it's a high energy use, but it's this, that. I mean, at least have the."
It's not listed.
That's
This is
industrial.
Staff wise, if we get something that's just left field, we'll bring it to the next planning commission meeting and decide what to do with it, and can update the use table at that point in time.
Because I do think there are some other uses, like, for example, veterinary is not specifically listed, but it falls under ag business, I believe. And so there's some other things like that I was wondering if it falls under another use. Assisted living facility, does it fall under something that's existing on this table under a category? Independent living facility, those kind of things that,
Yeah.
I mean, I can answer one of those.
oh yeah,
Just looking, well, there's nursing and rehabilitation center, which could be like assisted living could fall under that.
is that true?
It's
Well,
sort of different.
It-
It really
it's-
is. It's technically different, but yeah, I think we could. My take on this is we could spend hours trying to figure out what's missing from this list,
And we'll never get
and
it.
we'll never get it right.
So what is our way to address that is if it's something that's not on our table but somebody wants to do, they
contact planning.
and
No,
then,
we just
right? Is that
we
how it
advise
works?
what-
Or they're
And then
trying to get
add
a
it to
building
our table?
permit, and we were
Wouldn't
like,
be on
"Hey,
there.
wait a second."
We would add it to our table.
Or you would consider it to add, yes. Yeah.
So that needs to say something different.
And that's why,
Okay.
that's kind of why that statement
Maybe
is there.
considered by the planning.
It's
Well,
not
any
allowed
use
until
not
you add it.
listed. Yeah.
'Cause I feel like we
Let
do
me.
need to
I'll
open
take that
door.
to our legal as well because we have to be really careful with that guy.
But then if we add it to the table, what's the process for that? Is that still another public hearing? Because we're
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep. Any changes?
Well, like we
Recommendation
talked
to the
about,
commission.
there's
Just-
gonna be
Yeah.
mistakes, and I think we just need to,
I don't think we're gonna make any mistakes.
no mistakes.
That's
We
why
haven't
we
made
have.
one yet.
That's why we have the attorneys reviewing this before we release it.
And they're not
Yes.
here now. That's
Yeah, they're like,
Quite
we are not going to be there to that meeting.
It
So,
makes it nice,
yep.
And
Yeah.
and with that, sorry, we're not even. I'll
that's
stay
part
on
of
track.
planning.
We're not even there
Yeah.
yet to my comments.
It's a land use ordinance, part of planning, which is never done. It's always something that's going to be modified multiple times in the future. It's just what it is.
Well, just to that point, can somebody go through here with spell check? and
Yeah,
fix
we will.
everything?
So,
I mean,
yeah,
every
certainly
time we
before-
see, like Highway Camaro.
Before we adopt the final, and that was some of the discussion is, that I had with the attorneys is like, well, if we release this to the planning commission, the overall ordinances with the changes, and we state draft on there and give it to them and hoping they understand that this is still in draft form. But then you look at our adopted Spanish Valley one has draft on it and it was adopted as the ordinance. And I'm like, that doesn't work, and so yeah, that it'll always change, but we will go through here and make sure that we have all those corrections.
We're starting to get to fine tooth comb point of it. Finally. We've been just in like, oh gosh, this is a mess, and
Just a
font
hairbrush.
sizes and whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just been a mess to look at, so we're finally like able to get to this.
And we'll miss some, I'm sure. It's just human nature. It's just
Well,
kind
in
of
10 to 20 years, there are going to be things we've never even
Yes.
thought of.
absolutely. That's
So-
a scary thought. I mean, I was with a developer the other day they were right at the point of the mountain of the state prison. They tore that down. The state is now looking for developers to come in and develop that. They're now considering, so you have I don't even know what you call it, the drone cars. And they're considering, okay, what do we have to have in this area to allow for these drone cars to fly in? And do they fly along the highway? And it's just like, what in the world? It's like back to the Jepsons. If you watched Jepsons growing up, you would understand, okay, yeah, we're there. And they're looking at zoning for that. And how does that work, with this development? And yeah, so 20 years from now, yeah. Yeah. Yep. So totally different.
I will point out that, one that we might want to add to it if we want to cross this bridge is truck stop or travel center. Because that was something we talked about with the loves. And it's not in here. And
I think we put that in one of the definitions.
I'm pretty sure didn't we
it's
just
not, it's not in the,
What's the
I'm
definition
pretty
table?
sure, because we have had
You
this
talked
discussion
about that
before
in the
too,
work
that
session
we said
last
to
time.
leave it with automobile service stations.
Well, yeah, but I think in order to approve loves, you all had to agree that it was multiple things,
The
not
mixed
just
use.
one thing.
Uh-huh.
That's how you did it.
But there's a lot of gas stations out there that serve food.
Well,
Whether
no,
they're-
I
whether they're-
understand it. I
whether
understand
they're
it.
Yeah.
truck stop or not.
So that's where I think you
understand
tucked it last time in
that.
the
But
work.
that was
works.
how we had to. That's how we had to approve it. We
Mhm.
couldn't just say it was a gas station, and we couldn't just say it was. Well, those of us who voted against it, but
Yeah.
you know, I do think it needs to be in here. Just because it's not we all, I mean, just the way we voted on it, it was not a single category.
So in that one, I think you need to, legal has to look at that because, I mean, the classification, because I mean, it truck stop slang for a service station with food, bathrooms, showers, available parking.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's more or less just a slang word for a gas station that allows bigger parking lots and has showers
Bigger
and stuff in it.
trucks
Yeah.
and more space.
Yeah.
With a restaurant
But-
and
yeah, but-
campground.
my
Because
point-
a lot of
yeah,
them out there
yeah.
is the same thing, just on a smaller scale.
Well,
so
Like
it's
20 years ago, I thought it was walkers. You know, like
yeah,
in
yeah.
Wellington, I would just be like,
Yeah.
oh, that's just walkers.
Yeah.
You know, like that was all I was familiar with.
Mhm.
Hit Blandon kid, we get to Wellington, that was a big gas station, it was
Yeah.
walkers, you know.
What, it's
Mhm.
Miller's now.
Miller's,
Well,
yeah.
and I
You know,
think
I mean,
in our
Or is that the
previous
steakhouse?
discussion,
Yeah.
I think Amber at this point, like at what point does it cross over? And that's the hard to define
Right.
part.
And that's why I was saying.
And so that in our last
legal.
discussion, if I remember correctly, we came to the conclusion to leave them under automobile service stations because then there isn't this weird gray line of, well, are you a truck stop or you're an automobile service station?
Or a restaurant.
Like, is Maverick here a truck stop or an automobile service station?
The Texaco, it's here.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, I would say Texaco's a gas station. I would say Maverick's a
I'd
gas
say
station.
Maverick is a gas station.
But it's a truck stop as well.
But it's a truck
Yeah.
stop.
Mhm.
So I think
So-
it comes down to the liability of the business, because if you've got 60 truckers sleeping on site versus a gas station where you've got maybe one or two, you've got some catastrophe that happens, your liability, that business owners, something were to happen. You don't think?
I don't know.
I mean, as far as a way to differentiate, at what point, like, your insurance changes
Yeah, I
from
don't
this
know.
size gas station to a travel center where you got lots of people sleeping there overnight.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll ask legal.
Yeah, it's just
their
it's
advice.
worth noting just because it's been such an issue.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else on use table? Awesome. Now we can get started on what I wanted to hit tonight. I'm so excited. Okay. Update and discussion of new sections. So our legals got it. They have semi-agreed. Have they agreed to have it back to us by the 20th? Can we do it?
Yeah.
We're hoping for the 20th to have it back.
It's hard to compete with murder cases and land use.
Right.
They are definitely, yeah, it's been raining on our attorneys. So they have been pretty inundated just with a different workload rather than
No, we'll get it back the
working on
20th.
normal.
So I hope to have it to you
civic
guys
stuff.
the 20th, 21st.
So, are you going to post it for the public on the 20th
We have
as
to.
well?
Yeah.
We have to
That's-
get there.
You have to get it to
If
the
not, because I don't think it would be fair. And kind of going back to Holly's statements is, you owe it to the public
Yeah,
to have
absolutely.
that vetted. And I think if we don't get it out there,
So the
if
20th.
all of a sudden we just release it in a day and here we're in a public hearing process the next day, I don't think that's fair. And so we want it vetted, and that was kind of, why we had to push back on this one as well, as the public needs to be duly noted that we're doing this, and they need to have that information so they can digest it. And hopefully, in the back of our minds, we're also reminded that this has been out for a majority, probably 70% of this has been out since 2022. It's been online. We've vetted it. We've had public comments that have been received on it. All that really is going to be changing, obviously, your land use table, the map, and then the new sections that are in there. So we're hoping it's a little bit easier to review on there, but nevertheless, we got to get it out there so the public can hash it out and try to find, well, what have they done to me, and how is this going to affect me? And so we got to get it out there. We just got to get it reviewed before we do, especially on some of the more extreme changes. I mean, some of them will just make sense naturally, like the nuisance section in the ordinance. We have the public that are screaming, hey, we don't have any nuisance laws here. There's no teeth in the nuisance. We've got the sheriffs that's saying it. And so as those sections come about, they should make a lot of sense. It's when you get into the overnight rentals, can we do a permitting system here? And what is the spacing on the overnight rentals, and how do we incorporate that into the zones, and which zones? And so it's things like that we want them to check before we all of a sudden, okay, this is what we're going to do. But yet the public needs to know how does that affect their neighborhood? Because on the opposite side with the overnight rentals, you've got those neighborhoods that have protested, that are like, we're done with overnight rentals in our neighborhoods. We want it to stop allowing these. And so we've just got to make sure that we finesse it through properly, and that we don't put us in a legal legal concern. There's been stances that we've taken in the past, but yet those are still going through a process on appeal or in district court. Some of them are going to district court on there. And so we've got to make sure that what we release is actionable and legal, and yet still give enough time to be vetted. And so I'm hoping they can get it. They may come back and say, we just don't have time to go through all of this.
Well, to that point, we haven't seen the public comments on the 2022 draft ordinances.
Those were included in the Maptionary stuff.
Really?
Because that was in the review documents that was posted.
Those
online.
were those comments?
Well, most people, I didn't see any comments on, but they were included in the here's.
Some of you may not have seen them. I think they went to it may not. I'll go back and look and see.
We got the Maptionary where everything was tied in, and then we got, I don't know, several pages of comments, but
okay.
I
thought those were related to
the Maptionary.
All of the
in that summary report she gave us, it was everything, including emails and stuff. So that 2022 draft, I mean, it is still as is. It's in that, this is what you should be looking at, community. So it's right on the list of documents to review.
Okay, you'll have to point it out to me because
Girl,
I don't
let me
know
show you
which
right
one it is.
now. And it's on the link. So if you go to San Juan County, I can spell. And under departments, and by the way, here's our public notice as well. People can see that. But if you go to our planning and zoning, it's right there under here's the public hearing and here's what we're looking at.
Right, but that's not what I'm
Comments on
talking about. I'm talking about the comments from the public on the 2022 draft.
Yeah, people can make comments at any time to me.
Previous to this
We
map.
haven't seen those.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'll look
Yes,
at
and
I'll look at both of
some
them and see.
the comments I have gotten back in our emails, and including some of those in the summary report, did make reference to that.
Yeah,
But
so it's not.
people were very focused on the map.
So I'm just wondering, before the maps came out, what kind of comments did you
Okay.
get?
2 years ago?
2 years
Yes,
ago.
yeah, that's what
we're talking about.
okay.
Because if we're talking about 70% of it is
those
is,
comments apply
Mhm.
to.
those, yeah, we need to see what comments went to that 70%.
Okay. Let me look and see how to get it, because part of the process in the past, similar to what we're doing now, a lot of work sessions where planning commission would take specific sections of that 2022 ordinance and they would review them here in this meeting, and we would receive public comments, make adjustments from there, bring it back. And we've just kind of always been waiting on the map. And so,
Okay.
so that was kind of the past of
That was-
how
so
we
it's
handled
not
it.
like you've got
And
a
then,
collection of emails.
well, we do, and they were given to planning commission, but it was before your time. And so trying to figure out how I can get them
Well,
to you.
if everybody adjusted the ordinance based on, the draft based on that feedback,
Yeah.
then I don't have any problems with it.
Okay.
Because this is what it looks like with those comments included.
Yeah,
Right?
they had made the adjustments through the sections, through that
Okay.
process, but we were always waiting on this map
Okay.
piece.
Okay, then,
But that was 2 years ago. The time has passed. Like, well, that's not fair to all of a sudden adopt this, especially when we know that there's legal changes and we're all, fighting this battle over here. And that's where we got into the new changes to the ordinance. And so everything before, but still with that token in mind, it was never pushed out to the public process that we had now, or the public engagement that we had in Spanish Valley already, and the public engagement that we had here. That was never done in the initial 2022 draft, but it has been open online for ever.
and it's been a
Since
working
the-
document as
It
well,
has,
right?
yes,
Okay,
yep.
so then I'm good.
I don't
But on that note, is the
I don't have
Maptionaire
to
public comments now posted to the
48
public?
hours is all.
Mhm.
I
So
want-
anybody,
That's how she
Has everybody-
accessed it. That's the map that we've been showing
that gives them 2 weeks.
on there.
the public comments, you can see
I
them?
think we only have to.
Okay.
You can click on the little ups and downs or the thumbs up, thumbs down type thing, and it'll show you the comment
So
that
the
they made on there.
The
Mhm.
results of the survey from Maptionaire is now public. document.
Yes, it's always been open to the
Well,
public.
there was a question whether or not we were going to share what the comments were
I can
afterwards.
I can put that up. Well, it's in the meeting packet from Monday.
Is it okay?
So it's on like public.
They
notice.
condensed, the condensed ones, so you don't have to look at every project. Somebody had mentioned the 52 comments are negative, but they were all repetitive, and so they kind of tried to summarize.
I did that,
Some
and
of
that's
those.
because I couldn't find a way to circle this area and say, look, this is.
Oh, okay. Oh, it was you.
I'm the guy.
It was all anonymous. You didn't have to.
Now we made a piece of. No, I want to.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they summarized that into one instead of providing each individual comment on every property.
So people, hopefully the word is out to keep checking this, and I think the people who want to be involved are checking it. But this is our references. This is what we're looking at, and the 22 drafts on there. So they can make comment to that by emailing me. My contact's right here.
They've been emailing.
We're not doing collection and summary at this point. I am just gonna rapid fire them onto you. Okay.
There's still some questions, that we have just in structure. We've got to have a fenced in, fence out ordinance, which we don't have yet. But we've got to make sure that it's in the ordinance, whether or not we're a fence in, fence out county. So basically what that means is if you go in and you buy an agricultural piece of property, 250 acres, is it your responsibility to make sure you fence out your neighbor's cows, or is it the neighbor that's responsible to fence in his livestock instead of the new property owner fencing out? And so we still have to work through that, and our county attorney was working on that prior, But yet now you get these other cases that
So
have
yeah,
kind of
like the
made a
biggest
priority.
problem there, at least from my point of view, is so we talk about, well, we won't name communities, but they do that. They buy the 5 acres in
Mm-hmm.
the middle of somebody's grazing allotment or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so in my mind, it should definitely be a fence out.
Can we have
Because
this discussion?
they
right
they moved in, and so but there we and the commissioners, if I remember right, they've already weighed in what they wanted to be. We just have to develop the ordinance
But then,
for it.
then the problem is it's like so much of, I mean, a big piece that I own is, so if you did the fence in, so I own about 400 acres in a certain area,
Yeah.
and it's just canyon, you know, and so
It's just a natural fence. Yeah.
yeah, but then there's all BLM. So like inside the fence, there's about 850 acres. 450 of it's BLM. I own 400.
Mm-hmm.
So I work with the BLM, have a grazing management plan for that BLM ground.
Mm-hmm.
But on the same hand, I could never have
Afford.
to go fence it. I mean,
Couldn't
would
afford it.
I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know? And so that's where
Yeah, that one
it
gets tricky.
kinda is tricky as well, because
Mhm.
there's lots of people that are like that.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
Okay. Can I take it?
Yeah, go
give
ahead.
Me the reins. Give me the reins.
Moving on.
I won't hit the mic. Okay. The first thing I want to talk about is looking at our density standards and accessory dwelling units and that. So this is a chart I printed for you guys just as a reference point. So we did change ag down to 5 acre minimum. The 1 acre minimum across the board comes from health department, that if you do not have utility access, and I clarified that, without utility access, you have to have 1 acre minimum to get those far enough apart. I will be honest, I don't love the comply with setback and coverage. I think that gets a little tricky. And like the conditional use permit.
Can you explain the comply with setback?
So, yeah, basically, as long as it can be as small as they want, as long as it complies with the setback, whatever they're building.
But so for
What big is
community commercial, there's no, it says NA for front yard. So there's no setback?
Right, because you want doors on the road
Okay. Wow, that's a
and on the sidewalk.
That's really big change. I mean, not necessarily negative, but just trying to get your head around that.
And then as long as they are stubbed in, we have 1/4 acre minimums.
So I have a question. Real quick. What's the little yellow? Here.
That's I don't know where this number came from.
Because I have a lot that is, and maybe I need to hurry and do it tomorrow. It's 201 feet wide, and I own 2 acres. And I totally intend on splitting that into 2 1-acre lots. With that number, the width for MU, multiple use, which is all around blend, I would not be able to.
So,
but I would meet everything else way over.
let's take it
Anyways,
table by
just-
table, but we
Oh,
could
sorry.
start there.
Okay.
Let's start there.
Like always, I just jump to what I want and I forget everybody
So
else. I'm
I
sorry.
feel ag and MU should probably follow the 75 foot of residential. And that is, I think some of it comes from having enough to get a house on and setbacks and still get a fire truck in there is where the 75 kind of comes up.
I disagree.
Go ahead, Lloyd. I'm
Because
listening.
a lot of acre lots that are being subdivided are long narrows.
Mm-hmm.
because that's the way they're accessed from one end with an easement through them.
Sure.
And you're talking 50 to 60 feet on those quarter acres.
And then
I
you've
mean-
got a 10-foot setback on the sides. Right?
Yes. Hmm.
So then you have 30 feet to build.
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
High density.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean, because, I mean,
So
most
do
of
we
the
wanna take-
modular units we're moving in right now are 27 foot.
Okay.
I just kind of like me. That's like multi-use. I thought that was kind of our high density. No.
So do we
Yeah.
want to go
I mean,
So
we're-
we need a different number.
residential, multi-use, and community commercial to 50? Well, okay. Residential to 50? Everybody give me a nod or no?
Yes.
So residential, the width is
The
50?
width. Yeah.
So you're changing it from 75
So basically
feet
the
to 50
street
feet.
front.
Street front has to be at least 50
Mhm.
feet wide.
Okay, so that on this is where it says width.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Would it make more sense for me to say street frontage?
No,
Well,
because we've
our
got
next one says
frontage is your
frontage.
next one.
Okay.
But that,
So that's like from the property line or the.
That
The
is
street to
just
the
a
house.
25-foot driveway. Is
so if
what
you're on
that
a
is
cul-de-sac,
You're kind of going back.
you've got to have 25 foot.
on the
If
front
when you
end.
when you subdivide it, you have to have at least
feet
25
in
foot
here,
of
if this is
high
where the street is.
here.
Yeah.
So that 75 foot can be measured anywhere on that pie.
We talked about that one night. I remember.
Yeah.
The trig. No,
So should we make ag the
chart.
same, a 50-foot minimum on width?
No, because it's a minimum 5 acres.
Yeah, but it could be a very skinny
Gotcha.
5 acres.
Yeah.
I mean, a 50 by how long? How long would it be?
Long way.
How long would
It's
it
a
be?
long ways. But if you look at some of our parcels,
Like
they
this
are up the canyon in
It's
this.
true. I think the ones that have animals.
Where
on
did
it,
209 come from?
We have no idea.
I don't know.
Me neither.
I would keep it.
I was like,
bigger
did
if
they
it
do
was
this
me.
on purpose?
Like 100?
100? I would just throw a magical number of 100, and then somebody could come in and
And say
If
this
they-
is for 5 acres,
if-
it's this
if they
much?
argued it and made a point. I mean, like I said, we make mistakes, but I don't know where the 209. I think 100 would be
Okay.
fine there.
I was
Anybody
wondering
else?
if there was historical data there.
I don't know.
Same with the 53 feet in industrial. Should we change that to 50?
Yeah,
Yeah.
round and
Yeah.
off.
numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know. Go
I don't.
52
I was
and a
like,
half.
maybe that means something particular. Okay,
So what did we do on mixed use?
50.
Or yeah.
Recreational,
What do we do on community commercial?
Kept the
25.
Kept the 25.
yeah, because that's your little shop.
Mm-hmm.
Recreational, we haven't put any numbers in yet. 50 follows suit,
This magical recreation.
or do we want to make that a conditional use of if they want to extend to the
Oh, I don't
boundaries?
want to
Yeah.
hear about it. I tried to make them all conditional, but you guys shut me down.
You can do it again, Lloyd. You can CUP that whole column.
I think conditional.
I think that one makes sense to do conditional use across the board because of the just the nature of
Yeah,
it
the-
being
Of the
way out.
variety of-
Yeah.
Can I just clarify? Are we talking? These numbers are minimums or maximums or
Minimums.
minimums? So they could be more than.
Except for the height. The height, it's not 50-foot minimum in height on highway commercial.
Height is max. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, frontage again. That's access for fire. In industrial, they're speculating bigger and more rigs likely needing to show up to that fire.
Mhm.
Front yard again follows suit with that. So the front yard is from street to the house.
Like street property.
So
line?
it's your front setback, is what I want to call it. I don't like
Mm-hmm.
front yard. It's your front setback. And the main point of that is if there's a car wreck out front, it doesn't come through your living room and kill everybody. And 25 foot, I think that's building code standards. Rear yard setback, I think these are also dictated by building code standards.
They're not.
Side yard, we did have at 10. I've always known it as 10 in architecture and building. These guys were taking it down to 8.
Yes.
The main point of your side yard setback is to keep fire spread from hopping residence to residence,
on each side,
which is
So that
technically
gives you 10
5 foot.
total foot.
I don't like that
And
though.
that is legal. But I think on the MU, that needs to change to 5. That's our high density.
Would you be willing to come down on height? Let's gamble. Because 10 feet between a 40-foot building is not a lot to keep fire spread.
10 feet between a 15-foot building is not.
Yeah, I mean it's.
No, it sucks.
No, but we're looking at it that way. When you get into these larger apartment buildings and stuff like that, we're talking fire suppression.
Yeah.
We've got firewalls, fire protection.
I honestly
stuff,
like
so-
10 feet on the side just because it's
Well, how
easier
do you get-
and you can get a truck, real skinny like. You can get a truck in between their house and their fence because I've done it a lot. But if you go 8 foot, you can't. So if you had to, you could get your truck down a 10-foot side setback into their backyard. And so I feel strongly about keeping side setbacks at 10.
No dog.
I'm like an 8 on them because that gives you a 16-foot total.
It's time to do yoga and meditation. Hold on, please excuse this.
Good luck.
Not tonight, you're not.
Funny.
This is already that hour?
I'm like an 8 CUP, NA, 5, 10, and
5? What are you going to do with 5? You can barely squeeze down it in your turnouts.
because that's what that area is designed for.
All right. I'm willing to go 5 on MU. Any other debates on fire suppression?
What do you say? It's not going to make a difference.
No, 5 feet
It
is
really
is
isn't.
fine. 10 feet. That's a 10-foot total. I mean, unless you put a fence there, but
Right.
Then
But
5
with
feet's
res
still
and
fine.
ag, if you do 10, that gives you 20 feet versus 10 feet, which is a significant difference.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
I still think with
You give me
mixed
10
use,
on
we're looking-
residential and ag.
So that you've got 16-foot separation between those two.
Yeah, I want it 10 because somebody puts up a fence, you can't drive down there.
I don't want to put a fire truck under the fire anyway.
no, no, I would never drive a fire truck down there.
No.
Hey, you haven't worked fire with a girl yet.
A couple of them.
Okay, I'll look at code. I don't know why we're humming. I'll look at code and just see where we're at. I think we can go down to 5, but I don't like
I
it.
know we can. For a fact.
But I don't like it.
I think in that one zone, that's what it needs to be.
In MU.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then maintain the 8 on the other ones. That gives you 16-foot separation, especially if we're a 50-foot wide lot. Okay. Now you're putting 30 foot on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want 2 foot bigger in the front yard, you can get it down to 8 foot here.
You
So,
could have a 4-foot deck.
so see what I'm saying?
I am
It just-
seeing what
it
you're
just-
saying.
Gets tight.
Yeah. So.
All right, I'll give it to you. Okay, heights. And heights have been a thing we need to think about. To build a story is going to be like 12 feet by the time you get everything in it. Floor and that's a flat roof. So the 35 feet in residential is basically a 2-story house with a roof on it.
More or less, yep.
Do we want, because of the size of ag, do we want to allow higher buildings in ag? Especially with
They're
barn,
having
you've got your big
silos.
hay barns
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Should we go
Yeah,
up to 50
barns.
feet?
Silos.
Yep,
Yeah.
50 feet?
Yeah.
I don't know, Thomas, you might have better like farm. Is 50 feet enough? You get a
That's pretty
silo
tight.
or a big old hay barn with a tractor in it.
It's pretty dang tight.
50 feet's tight? Should we go up higher?
I don't know. What's those ones in Duck Creek when you first pull in?
Tall.
Yeah.
Well, and there's some out in Eastland and Ucolo Road, right, that are
Yeah.
over 50 feet right now. So
Well, and
Silos or hay barns?
about what do you
Yes.
do on water tanks?
Okay. Water tanks are going to be a special conditional
to me,
use
like,
variance
I
sort
don't
of
know.
situation.
I think a hay barn and a silo is well. I mean, that's not what we're talking about.
In ag.
I mean, maybe an ag, but like just blanding or Red's pivots there. Well, it's multi-use. So to me, it would be like those ag buildings would be a different table, a different.
Oh, you mean they would be under the multi-use, which would be the lower. Okay, well let's talk.
I'm just saying, like a lot of my
I think
farm
multi-use
is
would be
multi-use. Like
Yeah,
the Reds
that's
LaSalle
restored.
is multi-use.
right.
So
This year.
I mean, rather than coming up with this huge, crazy building height,
These are 10 foot.
I mean, there just should be a,
Plus your floor.
you know, a condition on farm buildings. I mean,
So do you want to say on ag height a conditional? Well,
I mean, I don't know how to do that. I don't know where you put
it'd
it
be
in
a
your
variance. It'd be a height variance.
But-
you know what? I don't think we're gonna get much over 50 feet. And honestly, 50 feet when you look down a main street or whatever, 50 feet is not. You know, after that it starts to just look big.
So we're 35 on residential
Yeah.
and 50 across the board.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. How tall is this building?
And that would allow
Well, it's gonna
this
be-
building's
basement's
probably
half out of the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
So,
pushing 60. I would-
uh,
No.
I bet not. I bet you're not over 50.
No, because you don't
50's
start your
50's pretty
basement's
friggin' high.
your
Yeah.
basement's 10 before you even start.
yeah, but
But that's out of the ground.
Out of the ground, there's
Yeah.
half.
No, that's what I'm saying. So you got 10 feet out of the ground to the first floor. Then you've got a 12-foot ceiling downstairs,
22. Good.
plus 24-inch foundations in between. So we're up to 24, plus
You're-
another 12-foot ceiling.
39, 45.
Did I over-exaggerate? Did I
Little-
tell you
a
I
little
got a
bit.
background in
Yeah.
architecture?
A little bit.
There's a
I would
I'm
bet
gonna put a
you.
pretty big
I would
tractor in
bet you
there, so-
dinner that this building's not
Gotta be
over
all right.
40.
So the coverage.
it'd be close.
Okay, sorry,
Right,
I've
right about
been
that.
halfway listening to this, but I'm looking at the height restrictions in the ordinances. Like if you talk about a silo, in ag, would that be an accessory building?
Yes.
So, so there are different height restrictions in the ordinances for accessory buildings than there are for,
Well, and there's also, I believe, in the ag section.
but in all of them, there are different height limits. So it's 30 for ag,
Correct, and so we want to change it to 50.
but you're going to, I'm talking about accessory buildings, not the primary building.
I think we make it across the board height of building on there.
Well, that's not what the ordinance says.
What? Are you in the ag section? Is that what you're
Page
looking at?
69. Page 69, the way when I did it.
I know, mine's a little bit bigger. Okay, so no accessory building constructed in ag shall exceed 2 stories and shall not exceed 30 feet in height.
And so
I-
all of the zones have that for different ones.
I
for
think we get
accessory
rid of that
buildings.
clause and just say here's building height, period.
Yep.
And get rid of that out
You
of
get rid
each
it
of the
in
section.
Yeah,
Of
well,
the
it's
accessory
so much
dwelling.
easier just to have a
Have
single.
one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, here
And then
you
it's just
are.
clear, people look at it and you're done.
That way
One.
they're not searching through each zone of
Right.
finding the heights. If they can just go to your height restrictions on one page that shows everything.
What
Yep.
would be the reason though that they had put this in originally?
I think probably with accessory dwelling units in mind.
Half of us were drunk, probably.
Which half?
Cody, Trent, and me.
I want in. Okay, yeah, I think that's probably where that stemmed from, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Okay.
If we're setting a height, we're setting a height.
Yeah.
Period.
So
But
it
the
needs
point
to
is,
come-
it has to match what's in the ordinance. This table, what this table
right.
says, has to match what's in.
So we're just getting rid of
So
it.
moving or-
We're just getting rid of it and we're doing the table only.
So there's
That-
not going to be that little.
There's not that
section
clause.
Right.
Mm-mm.
in each one. Okay.
Yep.
They
Hey,
don't say refer to
coverage.
table.
Coverage is buildable area to lot.
And
this
gonna
is-
have to change a lot. because
This
it's gonna-
does not match what we're seeing, especially if we are trying to do smaller, more
Yeah.
affordable lots. The
This-
building's going to
yeah,
cover a
It
lot
should
more
be
of the
80
lot area.
80 to 85% on your residential. This one's
That
is-
high, you think?
Yeah, on a quarter acre, absolutely.
How big of a house you putting on that?
As big as you can with these
Right up to the
setbacks.
setbacks?
if you look at the setbacks.
I don't
I-
know,
I
I'd
think-
have problems if you put 85% coverage and then you had your 5 feet on the side.
Right.
Which counts.
I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
I was thinking more like 60 for
So-
high density.
I mean, why don't we just calculate
That's what
what
I was
we
just looking
can
at.
max out and just put that number, that percentage, based on our setbacks?
Good.
Good idea.
Well, because it's not just that. Like, if you are building out, think about a neighborhood. If you build out every lot to its setback, that's why it's lower. Is we want some green space besides the 5 feet. We need a little more space and green space and
Yeah,
This
it's some of
neighborhood.
them, but I think when we look at like mixed use and that, where we're looking more
But do you
high
want an
density,
apartment building built out to the setbacks?
we gotta
Whatever we're doing.
we gotta have the option to do that, right? In those high density residential places, you gotta have the option.
I mean, they might tuck it in the corner, but you still want some sort of space between buildings or land, like opportunity for landscaping.
Yeah.
Square footage of a quarter acre.
Yeah, so it's 10,890 minus 40% to build up to a 6,500 square foot home. Still.
On a quarter acre?
Yeah.
Good
That's
lord.
60%.
So then we have just a bunch of 6,500 square foot homes that are blocked in down the road. I don't
Yeah, but
like
they're
that.
Not putting,
Well, that's not gonna
they're
happen.
not putting lawns in and eating all our water up.
You're right, they are not
And
putting a lawn
if
in.
you
You can
cover
afford
the
a
house, the less
6,500
waste we
foot
have.
home.
Yeah.
Lot
Is
after
that-
lot
is
after
that
lot, and we don't wanna pay
80%?
the taxes, go for it.
Is that 80%?
That was 60.
That would be
Quarter acre is
60%?
10,800 square feet.
Mhm.
Right, you got it.
Yeah, so you got 10,840.
10,890.
So 60% seems more reasonable to attempt to get a little less built out.
Yeah, and that's true too, because I mean you can go up.
Yes, you can.
So which
You
is
can go up
actually
35
cheaper
feet.
per square feet. All right, I'm good with 60.
60?
Jeez.
Across the board?
And then 10% on the ag. Because it's 5 acres.
Yeah, I'm gonna need. I'll figure out a number for ag in there and give a staff recommendation. 60 on MU. 60 on residential.
Let's do 60%
Across the board. On 5 acres.
so you could build that big
130,000 square foot house.
yeah on your ag. That's huge.
Well, even
One
if
big
like
lift
you're
is
just never
probably-
hitting that number. I mean, no matter
Yeah.
what you do, you
Yeah.
could build your 3,500 square foot house and your
I don't know where
100 by 50 barn and 3 silos, and you're still.
Oh yeah, you've got
So
I
mean,
don't
we,
know where
we
this
can
coverage
set,
got so high. The most coverages I've worked with architecturally been like 20%.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
No, how
Well,
are
'cause-
working?
This isn't just talking about your house, right? This is accessory dwellings, accessory
Yeah.
buildings.
Mhm.
That's your total roof
Yeah.
coverage of your whole lot.
Driveway,
Garages, whatever you got.
patios. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, let's flip back over to the front. Densities, are we okay with that chart? The only thing we really changed was ag.
Changed it to 5. Yep, I like it.
Okay. Accessory dwelling units. This might, especially because of that percentage of buildable area, so it's a good thing we started with the back. I would like to get rid of that on a minimum of 5 acres under residential and just say 1 ADU
Per half acre.
The half acre.
on half acre. Yeah. Because if you have that much buildable area that you could
Yeah.
do, you could do an ADU on a quarter acre.
Oh, absolutely. You could put it above your garage.
So does anybody feel strongly against that?
I don't understand what you're saying.
So we're just
What
saying.
do
If you have a
per lot.
quarter acre lot, you
Yeah.
can still do 1 accessory dwelling unit.
So 1 ADU per lot.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
Okay.
And then it's just, it cleans that up.
Okay, now I disagree with the ag one for the simple fact that I might have 10 ranch hands
hmm
that I need to house.
Yep.
One lot's 5 acres.
Honestly,
Per acre.
I know we hate talking about it here,
Oh, that's minimum 5 acres on a.
So you
Ag.
could do 1 house.
but what if you wanted to do, and they're conditional, 5 short-term rental cabins?
In
That
ag?
that would count.
Exactly what
That would
somebody's
count
gonna
as a
do.
short-term rental, not an accessory dwelling unit at this point in time. This is grandma out back, or your ranch hand, or your kid
Yeah.
moving back home.
Short-term rentals cannot be ADUs, didn't we? Isn't that what it says?
And so that's why
Unless permitted.
I'm pro more ADUs because of that clause. It allows for more housing. So if you have to move your brother in and you don't want him living in your basement, you can move him out back. Please, if my brothers are listening, please
So
don't come down.
that's fine. I just so,
Leave me alone.
but we're just talking density.
Now in
I mean,
highway
so
commercial, it's just
so-
not
so we're
permitted
just gonna
because there's
change
no residential there.
In ag, we're just going to change that to per acre instead of per lot.
I like that, don't you think?
Okay, I'm good with
Or
that.
do we want to say per 5 acres? So you can do 1 if you've got
No.
5.
No, 'cause
No.
you can need more than that.
Yeah.
I just
in
feel
the-
like
in the
ag's
housing.
moving, especially with the way things are going and trying to get housing. There's a lot, and I've talked to several community members about this. There's a lot of people that the kids are coming back to the family farm.
Right, and that's what
And
I'm saying is
They
so,
need
like,
somewhere
if
to
I
live.
was
So
gonna-
there's more like family compound sort of situations.
and
1 acre.
yeah, 1 an acre. I think that's the way to go that way.
Okay. Highway
then-
commercial not permitted because it's not.
Okay, so the cup goes away.
Yep. Community commercial, I say the same thing with residential. We get rid of that stuff.
Second floor residential only.
Do you
But that's
want
a
to
primary.
restrict it to just second? I don't want to restrict it. And second floor would
On-
not be an ADU.
No, it would be, yeah, it'd be a,
So
Yeah.
I'm thinking we've got the law firm out front and the guy lives out back.
oh, right.
there's like a little officey house thing out front.
Better call Saul.
And then he's got his little, yeah. Okay, mixed use, again, one per lot. Not permitted in industrial. Recreational, this one's a little tricky because we are promoting single family residence and stuff in recreational.
1 per acre, or 1 per lot.
1 per lot?
Mm-hmm.
What if we have Fry Canyon that's this huge acreage? Do we want to do the 1 per acre? For housing for the staff that lives out there? Because
What
you're
if-
in a very remote place.
What if we did it conditional?
I think it should be conditional
Yeah,
because
'cause
it's
we just don't
already a
know what
lodge.
it's gonna be.
They've
Yeah.
got a lodge there that used to have a restaurant in it.
Okay, and now they want to put 4 ADUs out back for
Right.
housing.
And they've got, and there's a little campground too, which has got 50 amp sewer, water, everything.
Oh, you're
Live-
really Mickey Mouse in this.
I can just vision this.
I know.
So I mean, to only have one.
Can we look at the definition of ADU real quick?
Sure.
Because there's some language in it that I don't know. I just want to bring attention to it. It says an ADU may not exceed 50% of the primary dwelling square footage or 1,200 square feet, whichever is smaller. Is that something we want to keep? Is
That's
that
what
in
an
line with what we
ADU
just
unit is.
did?
I'd get rid of the square footage and I'd say I'd give a cap on it. So like right now, Grand County is at 1,000. They are trying to move it to 1,200 square feet.
Trying to move it to what?
1,200 square feet.
That's the max size of an ADU.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They've been 1,000 for years and years and years, and they are trying to push it to 1,200 square feet.
I actually like the 1,200 square feet because that is a livable space for
You
a
can put
family.
3 bedrooms in it.
Like, yeah, I'm
and
thinking about
house
my
people.
friend's house around the corner is 1,200, and she's got 3 bedrooms, 2
Yep.
bathrooms. It's livable.
Mm-hmm.
But I also appreciate the 50% because what we don't want is 2 houses next to each other that are both 1,200 square feet.
Single wide trailer's 1,000 square foot.
Well, depends on what you get.
Or do
14 by
we
7
want to? What about this? Do we want to get rid of the 50 square feet and just say 1,200 square feet or less?
50%.
Period. Just make it easy.
I like it.
Okay.
1,200 square feet or less.
May not exceed 1,200 square feet. And then it's very straight up when they come in with building plans. It's got to be under 1,200 square feet. We don't have to get messy about it. Okay. I like
And what about the language, unless specifically permitted, an ADU may not be used as a short-term rental? Should it just say an ADU may be used as a short-term rental if you
the
you
point
get a
of
conditional
ADU
use
is
permit?
to get housing, permanent long-term housing. So,
But it
a
says it has to
guy-
be permitted.
But that was kind of my point a minute ago, though. But you could come in. You got my son's living there. He's been out there. He gets done with college. He moves out. I come before the board here, and I'm like, I want to do a conditional use. I want to Airbnb this. Kristen's gonna come and tax the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Make it commercial.
Or she'll
And
say
so-
there's too many already.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Right. So that's the way it should be.
And so, but that is conditional.
I feel like we should say an ADU may not be used as a short-term
So how are you going to define this? So say I've got an ADU unit out back of my house right now. I'm in a zone that it's not permissible. It's conditional use.
They're not permissible anywhere.
The thing is
So
we
it's
want
conditional
these.
use.
If your son moves out, it would be nice if you did a long-term rental out of that.
I friggin' hate long-term rentals.
Oh,
Well, you
they're
should have built
terrible.
it for your kid.
Why I hate them?
I'll
is
never do it
because
again.
I never get in them. I rent them to the people. I don't get in them for a year, and then I go in them, and I'm mad.
Oh,
because nothing.
It's
And
5 to
I know
20,000
I know
every
Spanish
time you have
Valley.
one
I
move
get
out.
it, but I love them. I like meeting the people. I think they're interesting. I like short-term rentals. I like the money. I mean,
there
I don't.
it is.
Absolutely, and I spend the money. You pay the cleaner and everybody else,
Mhm.
just like you were saying. Like I get housing. I do, but
I just-
on the same hand, I don't. I want like my house. Well, I haven't, but I've thought about. We got the little basement apartment, right? So my mom's aging. Maybe she moves in. Maybe she doesn't. But we spend the money to fix it up, and we can rent it. If I want to rent it overnight, then I rent it overnight. I mean, so I come and I do all the hoops and everything. That should be conditional. We should tell people, come here. It's conditional. We want to get a permit. We want a business license. We want everything else.
So these need to be very separate. An ADU is you can build this for grandma. When it becomes a short-term rental is when you have to come in and apply for a conditional use permit, even if it's already built.
That's
And
what
get
I'm
the
just saying.
inspection.
Yeah, that's what we're
So
saying.
that's
just saying.
no. So it can become that,
Uh-huh.
but we need to keep those very separate until you fill out that form and have the certificate on the wall. It is an ADU
That's
that you
fine.
cannot short-term rent.
That's fine.
Because the way you
I-
were
I-
saying it a little while ago is
They're
I
not permissive. They're
I
not.
can rent out my primary house out front as a nightly rental, but I couldn't that one because it was a secondary.
You can live out back
Right. So
and rent out the house.
so it'll go through the same process. It's grandma passes away, God bless her soul. I've got to get some income in here, so I start using it as nightly rental through the conditional use.
Thank you for getting your certificate and inspection done.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
That's fine. That's fine.
Nothing
yeah,
is
absolutely.
a short-term rental until you get certified.
So the verbiage on that it's not allowed on any ADU needs to go away.
Well, it says unless specifically permitted, an ADU may not be used
So
as
we
a
need
short
to-
And I
Okay.
think that's fine. So
Yeah,
you
that
come
is
and
fine.
You come
Yep.
and get permitted.
Mm-hmm.
But
You know,
I think we
and
need
if-
to say conditional.
Yeah, okay, I
we
like
need
that
to
better.
use the language of if an ADU becomes a short-term rental, it needs to abide by a conditional use permit.
It needs to be permitted.
Yes.
I mean, I think it says
It
it
needs
now.
to have a conditional use permit.
Or something that the lawyers
Conditional use
decide
permit
is the
shall
way
be
to say it.
requires a
Yes.
conditional use permit.
If there, that's even better.
Because it's just consistency.
Well, and the
with
other
our
thing is,
language.
once the conditional permit is put in place, now it's going to be taxed differently too.
Yeah.
So that's the only way that our new assessor in November is going to be able to take care of it.
Well, I can only hope.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Okay. So that I think clarifies that. That's a big chunk of decision making right there. You guys, everything else we've covered. I need to look into the airport heliport with our legal team of what we can legally do and don't before I really run it past you guys.
They're conditional everywhere. I thought no. Know what we do?
Well, we've had some wild ideas thrown out, or maybe less wild ideas thrown out. But I
think it's a great idea.
I need to look at what we can
How you
legally
feel about it?
do and not.
A zero filling.
Okay,
Noise ordinance, is that something that will get put
noise
in?
ordinance is going to be the new nuisance ordinance.
Oh,
So it's
wait.
included under
Mhm.
nuisance.
Okay, because you're talking about the new one though that just got passed in December, the
Mhm.
noise
That-
one.
Well, that's getting looked at right now.
Mac, you're coming here to do the noise ordinance, huh? I can shoot up
No.
to 3 neighbor dogs a night.
Back on the zoning ordinance, we do, just going through state code, they have two different accessory dwelling units defined. So you have internal accessory dwelling units, internal to a structure. And then you also have this detached external to the structure. Internal, they have a lot more in state code that counties can't restrict on certain items. And so we do have to just make a note in our ordinance for the internal accessory dwelling units and work through those state code provisions in there. With the external accessory dwelling units, there's not a lot of regulations with it, but it is kind of a little bit more open, I think, in flexibility, less restricted, because the attempt is with that to get more housing. So you would encourage accessory dwelling units to get a higher density, to get more units within a property or on a property so that you can get more housing. And so we've got to look at both of those and make sure that we're heading in the right direction, because internally that one, I mean, it's like you can't restrict on size and regulate the sizes of them. And so it's a little bit, there's going to be some changes that we'll have to make to mirror state code on that one.
When I look at this chart, I am definitely envisioning external accessory dwelling units.
Right.
Okay,
But
but we
also
do have to
go on
include
the
internal.
basement underneath, plus one in
Yes,
the back,
we did
plus-
one. Yeah, we did
Our
one
code
exactly like that.
Also allows them to be connected with a 1 hour fire rate bulb. So
And I think that's what would come in as an internal.
nope. Internal is you're living in under the same roof using the same door.
Okay,
The
I'll look at it. It's
external
defined on there.
Is they can be adjoining
A firewall.
1 hour fire separation, which is
Okay.
5/8, 5/8.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
But no size restrictions on internal, but
It just gets
you can
more
restrict the size on the external.
the externals. And so we've just got to make sure we're matching the language with the state code.
So what
Good
was number
discussion.
8 on here?
That's part of it. This. I mean, do you really want to dive into it?
No,
Where are we at? Are we done?
I was
We're
wondering if we could look
off-
at building permits.
Yes, no, that's exactly where I wanted to go. It adds up.
All right, let's move on to building permits.
I love that idea.
Everybody
I just have
get a
one
chance to look at building permits?
Yep.
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 Just wondering about Shaylee Larson.
Hi.
She's
Thank you
waiting,
for your
she's
work.
waiting for some
That's
stuff.
That's
Now you get to do your real job.
Well, we
That's a
tried.
subdivision application. That's why there's no information on that.
Oh, that's the one I was gonna
It's
ask.
a
so I can use that.
location or?
It's a
It's a subdivision application.
Oh,
Which is-
I see. Which doesn't
So
have to
she
go.
she
do that.
applied
Okay.
online and
Got-
it just
got
kicks it into this system.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I'm at this point looking for a motion.
I always make that motion to adjourn.
I have
Don't
a
anybody take
motion
my thunder. Let's go.
I will second that.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
But are we gonna need another work meeting,
Oh,
Kristen?
yes, we can talk about that right now. So we are gonna need one more work meeting. I know. Dude, I know. Trust me, this extra 2 weeks.
I didn't
is
start
great.
drinking until I joined this board. I'm just kidding.
I haven't stopped drinking.
I was drinking when I joined this board.
When I agreed to
Yeah,
this, I
right.
was drunk.
Hey, you wanna help out? Sure.
You bet. Give me a beer. I think when I joined this board, they
So
told us.
let's look.
Yeah, right.
Pull your
Not
calendars.
Monticello, they didn't.
So if we get it back the 20th,
Which you won't.
Godspeed. No, don't even say that. It's gonna be fine.
About the 25th.
I'm looking at what if we were to meet either the 24th or 25th. I know Mondays are good for Melissa, so if I can kick it out to you the 20th,